Call to order, April 10th, 2017. We got a fully loaded agenda, and we will start with the invocation Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Hood, please.
Join me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for allowing us to wake up to another beautiful day. Father, we're so thankful for the springtime and the new growth and the flowers and the greenery that we're having in our area. We thank you so much for our recent rains that we have, for blessing us with that. Father, I pray that you will be with us today as we go through this court session. And please help us to make the decisions that are going to be good for our county, dear Lord, and please help to listen and to make those right decisions. And I know that we can do that through you, Father, and we thank you so much. Father, again, we pray that you be with our law enforcement, our first responders, Father. We're thankful for them, that we have such a great organizations here in our town, and we just pray that you watch over them, that you protect them, keep them safe. Father, these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. All right, we got a couple of things due to scheduling that needs to go a little bit out of order, and we'll start with number 7. Receive presentation from Jeff Floyd with the Extension Service, because we have some 4-H students that need to get to school. So, Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Judge Bradford. Thank you. And good morning, Commissioners. I just want to take an opportunity, if we could today, to please recognize the 4-H volunteers and the adult leaders. They recently took a bunch of donations as a result of Amy Casbear, 4-H adult leader Amy Casbear, posting a little notice on Facebook to take donations for some of the Panhandle fires. We lost a few lives up there in the state, and we had about 500,000 acres burned, and we realized there was going to be a shortfall in supplies, water, and things like that. And so Amy put a notice on Facebook to accept donations so that we could deliver them up there, and it just sort of organically took off and grew beyond our wildest dreams. And I asked 4-H'er Luke Cowan to come and give you all those numbers today.
Morning, Luke.
Morning. We started out with a goal of, something around 100 cases, something that we could haul in the bed of a pickup truck, and like he said, it just kind of exploded, and we ended up with 27 pallets of water, which translates into 50,480 bottles of water and over 800,000 gallons. And we took all that to the Panhandle to distribute among first responders, specifically firefighters. And in addition to the water, we were able to gather up around $300 of snacks and chapstick, along with $750 monetary dollars in donations. So we were very pleased with the turnout that we received, and that we were quite humbled to be a part and to be able to direct this community service that could possibly turn out to be one of the largest among youth development programs in the country for this year.
Wow. Excellent. Fantastic. Way to go. Well, he's already left, so we can't talk to him. But what we would like to have is some of those facts and some pictures of your colleagues, so we could put it on social media for the county.
Yes, sir. I'm not exactly how sure to get you those, but I'm sure that we can coordinate it to get
Well,
it
it's
to
the
you.
short guy with the mustache and the glasses sitting right back there. First.
I will politely ask him to send those to you.
Super. Thank you very much. What a great action.
Good job.
And Jeff, that was well worth bringing it to court.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much. Item 3, discuss take action on minutes from the court, March 27, 2017.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And as we normally do every year this time, and number 4, acknowledge April as the National County Government Month, and I think we've got a little something to show. Jenny?
Yes, to acknowledge April as National County Government Month.
Someone shared with me a video, and I would like to share it with you. So let me press a couple of buttons.
Is that it? No. That was quick. There you go.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be that first one, but Javi don't leave.
Howdy, I'm proud to be a Texan.
Well, me too, but I'm a McLennan County gal at heart.
I live in Waco, which I guess is also McLennan County. And don't get me wrong, I'm proud to be a Texan, but I'm a city girl at heart. All that county stuff is in the country, right?
Hold on there, Missy. Whether you live in the city or not, you're just as much a part of the county as anyone else.
That's right. And your state, your city, and your county all have important jobs to do.
Are you saying that we've got 3 governments running the show here?
Yeah, that seems like a lot.
What do they all do anyway?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's start with you, cowboy. We all love living in the Lone Star State, but the government has a limited purpose and scope. That's one of the reasons the legislature only meets every other year. When it does, it has to make decisions and laws that apply to the entire state as a whole. And it needs a local partner to implement its laws and policies.
So who does that?
I'm glad you asked. That's where the counties come in. They were created to implement state policies and enforce state laws at the local level. It's where the rubber meets the road on carrying out the state's priorities. You see, the county enforces the state's laws and policies. Counties provide services locally tailored to fit the needs of the local residents. And they can do this because they are run by the locals and connected to the people.
Yeah, but isn't the city even more local than the county?
That's a great question, one that I'm glad you asked. Cities are local and they provide services, but with limits and within the city limits. If you live in a city, they may provide things like water, electricity, and waste removal. Bigger cities have a police force, and the city may build certain streets.
Well, that sounds like everything I need. What else is there?
Well, I'm glad you asked. That brings me back to your county. Your county government fills the gap providing things that the state and city government do not. It provides law enforcement county-wide. It runs the court system. When there are bad guys, it keeps the jails where they stay. It registers voters and holds elections for everything from local government offices to the President of the United States. Counties keep track of records like deeds, birth certificates, and death certificates. Counties build and maintain about half the roads in Texas. The county provides health care to lower-income residents. It provides emergency management during times of crisis. And the county often collects taxes on behalf of other entities like school districts and cities. Are you getting the picture?
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes, it is.
Oh, so I get it. The county is actually the political subdivision enabled by the Texas Constitution to carry out state laws, but with direct and connected relationship to the people it serves.
Very good, city gal. Yes, you are Texans and may live in the city. But remember, you are also proud county residents, too.
Thank you, big voice in the sky.
Yeah, and do you have a name or something?
Well,
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, hey guys, it's me, Chet. I guess I'm just a guy who thinks county government's cool, and I thought y'all should know about some of this stuff. Anyway, see you later.
Okay.
Well, I hope you learned something, because
Texas counties deliver.
hey. Want to learn
Hey,
more
how's it
about
gonna
your
be
local
used?
county government and all it does for Texans?
So thank you for indulging me, but I thought it was very informative and cute and worth your time.
It's being asked to put on all communication devices for the local government, so that will happen upon acknowledgement by this court, if you so were mine to do. So, Is there discussion or a motion to acknowledge that April is County Government Month?
Motion.
Multiple motions, okay. Are there seconds?
Second.
We have one lonely second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. If you'll get that to Heather, and we'll get it on.
Jenny, I think they should have had the Roadrunner in there too, though.
Okay, now drum roll, because we got item 5 and 6. We'll call them together. We're going to do 5 first. Receive comments on nuclear waste project. 6 is receive presentation on overall nuclear waste plan. Little explanation. The court is on record with the following. We have had a couple of hearings, and those that opposed this, and there certainly appears to be more, came and presented their case. After reading about those presentations, I was contacted by some who would like to speak for. And it has always been the policy of this court to hear both sides and do the best we can, but the main thing is to get informed about what the subject is. The second part of this today is there is one presentation I'm aware of that is favorable, but I spoke with Ms. Haddon, and we tried to show hers who was not in favor of it, but the equipment couldn't work. So the ground rules are as follows. You see one, you see both. If one can't crank up and work, then we don't see either one. We're trying to do our best to keep this on an even keel. Secondly, or thirdly, I guess it is, anyone that has spoken previously will be at the very back, and I can tell you, we may not get to you again, but we have heard your presentation. We want to offer those, pro or con, time to speak that showed up today and haven't had the chance before. The other thing to remind yourself, we're not a court like you see on TV where there is counterpoints to every comment made. That's why we're up here. We discuss it and have those kind of debates. So we're not going to provide any opportunity for someone to take issue with something else someone else has said. We're not a venue for public attacks. We're talking about the product. And what does this effort result in? This effort results in a reasonable, clearly stated within our jurisdictional rules, resolution about this subject. And it all starts, if you heard us say many times, we don't have any jurisdiction over this federal program. We have no jurisdiction on the highways, their interstates, or the railroad tracks that are being proposed to transport this. But what we do have is we have the ability to express an opinion of our community, and that's what we're here for. So with that, I hope everybody understands. If you don't, it's kind of like school, I guess. You raise your hand, we'll see if we can answer it. But the rules are this. As we call your name, if you please come up, start with your name and address. You have 3 minutes to do your presentation, as long as you stay on the subject and as long as you don't repeat previous comments. The commissioners may engage in a question after you have your say. They may not. They may wait. But we want to make sure everybody gets the opportunity to be heard. And the one thing that this has done, it's a little longer process than we thought it was when we first saw it on the agenda, but it enables all of us to get better educated about what might go on in our community or what possibly could go on. So, with that, that's about as fair approach as we can offer you. And the last time we met as a court, we had kind of narrowed it down to 5 questions, 3 of which involve continuous action. And those are, number 1, we'd like to know if there's going to be local hearings on whatever route is chosen. The second one is funding for all local entities and training before the shipments start. So we would have emergency response capabilities. And And inspection and upgrading any rail track, I've already been told by the hearing party up in Washington that would be done. Number 4 is we need some kind of explanation of why the material is being moved. There are a number of sites where we've been informed that it's currently being stored on site. So why are we moving it? And then I guess the biggest one of all of us is if it's being moved, why is it being moved twice? We don't quite understand why you bring something, set it down on the ground for a while, then move again. However, my colleague just informed me, I didn't see it this weekend, but President Trump apparently has committed money to Yucca Mountain to get it up and going much quicker. So I'm sure that has some bearing. But with that, anybody have any introductions or anything they want to say? Okay. We don't show that you had previous testimony, and we will start with Lauren. Is it clear? You got married, so help me out here. Malia, okay. And Lauren, if you would, she rates this general testimony. Her position on it is forward. Your name and address, please.
Lauren Malier, 3201 Shell Avenue, and I'm representing Crown Quest Operating.
Okay.
So just short and sweet, I wanted to speak in favor of it. I've done some research on it. I've even had the privilege of speaking with a couple people at WCS about this. I will admit, at first, when I first heard about this, it scared me. I don't know much about nuclear fuel transportation, and so I think just naturally it makes you fearful of what could happen, and it reminded me a lot of the anti-fracking campaigns in Dallas, in Denton area, that a lot of the opposition against this is very fear-centric and lacks a lot of facts. And granted, I think it's really important to hear both sides, and I think it's great that y'all are inviting WCS as well to give their presentation as the other side. But I would encourage everyone to also listen to the facts. It's easy to gravitate towards the more emotional decision when you don't know something about a topic. And like I said, after doing some research, after speaking to some people about the company, after reading about both sides of the story, I've concluded personally, and Crown Quest Operating has concluded that the transportation is very safe. It's one of the most regulated industries in the nation. There's never been an incident where someone's been injured, and I think it would, sorry, I'm not used to public speaking. I do not like this.
You're doing fine.
But I think it would, I just think as an energy town, as an energy community, we know very well how fear-driven decisions can result and how they can be manipulated by certain opposition groups. We've seen that around the country. So I would just encourage everyone to listen to the facts and hear both sides, and just hear out the whole story before making a decision.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I failed to mention again, the official timekeeping is my $29.95 watch. And so as long as it keeps ticking, we'll keep hearing. And I'll give you a 1-minute warning. Yes, ma'am. I got that in my phone. Thank you, Karen. I may take you up on it, but I'll give you a 1-minute warning before you're through. Okay, thank you. The next one we have is John, is it Skees, S-K-E-E-S, and it is question mark, doesn't know what kind of testimony, doesn't know for or against, but would like to speak. John, please.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Scott, it's been a long time, but it's good to see you.
Yeah.
I speak today in the position of the transport of any.
Start with your name and address.
John Skees. I live at 1609 West Indiana.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
I speak in opposition to any transport of high-level or even low-level nuclear waste through our community, county and city. Despite what may have happened or not happened within the industry, the nuclear waste industry, We don't know what will happen in the future, but I am pretty confident that if anything does happen, it will be catastrophic. I don't know how the county or the city can escape responsibility for cleaning up any accident that may happen. I'm sure there's all sorts of indemnifications from the companies that are involved, but ultimately it will be falling on the citizens and the taxpayers of Midland County. Also, since this is an energy community, we've been in the oil and gas business for about 100 years out here. We know that we learn things new all the time. And I would just like to state that we're in the middle of an unconventional drilling boom in the Permian Basin. And we're several years behind other regions in the country. Problems have occurred in Oklahoma. They've occurred in North Texas with earthquakes. I know there's a lot of controversy as to what may or may not cause those earthquakes, but they didn't start happening until huge amounts of produced wastewater had to be disposed. In conversations with geologists that I work with, we're finding out that there is a lot of communication between the formations, and that in many of the wells that they're drilling today, they recover wastewater or chemicals that were injected from other wells. And we have no idea as to when or if an accident happens, whether or not this material will communicate with our freshwater reservoirs. So with that, I'm done. But thank you very much.
Okay, John, thank you very much. The next one is it Jesse Garcia? Yes, sir. Mr. Garcia says he's speaking in favor. It's general public testimony. Start with your name and address, please.
My name is Jesse Garcia, 4805 Briarwood, here in Midland. I'm the Director of Operations at Waste Control Specialist. I've worked here for 2.5 years. I've been in the radioactive waste industry for 25 years. I've held many positions and have learned everything I could about hazardous materials, rad waste. I've yet to be deterred by helping to be part of the solution of the nation when it comes to responsible waste management. I've been present in numerous public meetings, listened to both sides, listened to the opposition use scare tactics, what I perceive, to prove their point of how bad these things are and how it's going to be deadly to people and their children and their communities. It's easy to pose the issue by avoiding or not fully understanding it, but is it the right thing to do? The real impact on radioactive waste shipments is negligible to local populations. Hazardous materials run through our local highways and rail lines every day, whether it's a product or a waste. It travels on highways and railways by our communities. We all live, go about our business, go to schools and or churches, and hopefully continue to be good contributing members of society with little or no impact to what's going on around us. I have a family, and we decided on Midland as our home. Understanding the hazards associated with waste has not deterred me from living in areas where waste may travel. It does not discourage me to participate in activities, nor does it drive me away from good places to be. Midland is a huge hub for our employees. Most travel here for shopping, good food, good entertainment. None of the employees see any of this material come to our site as a deterrent from them frequenting the surrounding areas. We at WCS are proud of what we do, the safe operation we perform, and we encourage anyone who wishes to learn more to come to our site. come see how environmentalists in action clean up the nation's challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next one is Travis Matthews. Travis says 4, and I'm assuming this is general testimony. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Travis Matthews, and I live here in Midland at 3526 Stanley.
Thank you.
I am a health physicist at Waste Control Specialist, and to give a little bit of a translation of that title, that really translates into a radiation safety professional. At the site, I handle the environmental monitoring data and also the occupational dosimetry data for our workers, and we do a great deal to keep them safe. I've been working out at Waste Control Specialist here for 7 years, and I've been here in Midland for 7 years. I have had the privilege to work with a lot of people that are dedicated to handling these types of materials safely, and as part of my education in radiation safety, I just like to say that radiation is part of our lives. I mean, there's natural radiation all around us, and there's a lot of fear associated with it. This industry has been, the field of health physics has been around for some time, and we've known about the potential harmful effects of radiation. But the issue is they the perceived risks don't match up with other risks that we have in our daily lives. Working out at the site, the most hazardous issue that we have working out at the site is actually our drive to work. And the risk associated with these types of materials is minuscule in comparison to risks that we accept as just kind of part of our daily lives, such as driving.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is it Carlos? Jose Carlos, and I'm going to try to spell it. It looks like H-E-R, or it could be H-E-V-E-Z.
J-E-R-E-Z. Perez.
All right, I'm going to get this straight. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. My name is Carlos Perez. I live here in Midland County, 1611 San Francisco Avenue.
Okay.
I've worked in this industry for over 20 years, whether it be in the Army, in a facility just as WCS is in Utah, visiting different DOE sites, and also working at the Los Alamos National Labs for DOE as well. I can tell you that the safety culture, as is in all the facilities that I've worked on, is first class. I've worked and visited all these sites, and yes, one of the concerns is always transportation when we're transporting waste. I can tell you that from my experience, all these containers that they ship the waste in has gone through vigorous testing, same way as is done with these casks. The regulations say it. We could all read it. We all understand what it says in black and white. Monday through Friday, I drive an hour and 10 minutes to the site and back from the site. Drive and see many carriers carrying many hazardous waste or product, and they're all done safely, and we all confide in them to be able to do it so. Same applies with this type of material. Just like any business, WCS continues to grow, and we look at opportunities to be successful and also be the solution for our country. We have 180 employees that we have out at the site. Each one of those employees we train when they come in first. Rigorous training, almost about 3 months before they're actually able to start doing any work. So we're not handling apples and oranges out there. We are handling radioactive waste. We all understand it's a danger and a hazard to us, and it is a poison if not treated or handled properly. So with that, I say, please, when we make our decisions, please let's be educated in what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Perez, are you the safety?
I'm the operations manager out at the facility.
Thanks. Thank you. One other thing is Judge Dolzner here, he called me and said he was trying to get here. So I don't see him. Okay. Next one is it Shadra Rain, R-A-N-E?
Yeah, that's right.
Did I even get close?
Yeah, it's Rada Rain.
Okay, you're speaking for this, and you're a health physicist. Okay, general testimony.
My name is Shraddha, and I live at 3200 Bromley Place, F301 in Midland. So as I mentioned, I live in Midland, and I work at WCS as a health physicist too. I got my qualification as bachelor's and master's in physics. So just like everybody else, I'm also concerned on my family's and my loved ones' safety. And the reason that I'm here and I'm going to talk what I'm going to say today and what I'm going to, what I've been working, I wouldn't have been doing this if anybody's safety was in jeopardy. To start with, let me tell you what actually goes in the waste or in the cask or on the road. Maybe that would give everybody a peace of mind on why it is okay for even the spent fuel to be on the road as well. Let's start with oil industry, right? Everybody knows that being in West Texas, well loggers work in oil industry, and they use sealed sources, radioactive materials, to do their to check if the drilled well has any oil or any other substances of consumer value. Next, smoke detectors. Everybody at our houses use smoke detectors. They want to be alarmed. I mean, if there is smoke in the house, you want to know, I don't want my house to be burned. So that has radioactive material too. Well, food irradiation, that helps to increase the shelf life of the food, obviously, and kills all these bacteria, microorganisms, and prevents foodborne illnesses. So that saves life. Medical procedures. Yes, everybody goes to the hospital to get CAT scans, CT scans, X-rays. What do we use there? Radioactive materials, radiation, and that helps save lives, thousands of lives. We are treating and diagnosing these medical issues ranging from hyperthyroidism to bone cancer, for example. Electricity, that's the main biggest thing that everybody's concerned. Nuclear reactors contribute the second biggest to provide electricity in the United States after coal. And what's the difference? They usually work in the same mechanism. The only difference is nuclear reactors use splitting of atoms, fission, to boil water, create steam, generate electricity. So the point that I'm trying to make here is we use radiation and radioactive material in everyday life. It's everywhere. And when all of this energy is used up or the radioactivity is decreased, it becomes waste and they go on the road. Well, they go on the road, what's the main thing? Packaging, right? Packaging has to be really good. Well, in WCS and in everywhere that does transportation of radioactive material, we have robust containers, rugged, robust. Everything is packaged really good in the cask, and these casks have tons and tons and layers of shielding made of steel and lead. So all of this waste, when is on the road, basically, it's really robust in transportation. I mean, this is not a new thing. Transportation of radioactive material has been carried over 50 years or so from now on. So adding spent fuel on the road is not going to add any, extra risk of element of risk. So, well, the point is, if the radiation dose is received to any member of the public, it's going to be a fraction of what they get from the background doses. So I think WCS is helping overall to...
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just, I just wanted to end it.
No, you're fine. Thank you very much.
And I'm proud to work for WCS. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you. Ignacio Lopez, it says against general public testimony. Mr. Lopez, so you brought the management with you this morning.
I brought my glasses. Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ignacio Lopez. I live at 2304 West Shandon, and I'm here to speak against it. Okay. I didn't just move here a couple years ago for a job with a nuclear waste company. I was born here. I was raised here. I'm raising my kids here, and I plan to die here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to follow the next job out of here and then leave what's being disposed of here. Of course, it's in Andrews, not in Midland, right? But still, it's passing through here. There's a couple concerns that I have. Everything has a breaking point. Everything does. They're splitting atoms to make nuclear, or to make it energy. So how can a piece of steel not break? Everything has a breaking point. My concern is that that breaking point will be met one day, and I'd rather it not be here, where my friends, where my family, where my kids are. I'd rather it not be here. It's hard for me to open-mindedly listen to someone who's making a living off of nuclear waste. I don't care about that. I live here. It's our health. It's our kids. If it wasn't such a big deal, why don't they keep it where it is? Why do they have to bring it here? Why does it have to be packaged so delicately? Because it is a big deal. Because it is dangerous. I think it's a risk that I'd rather we not have here. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us. I appreciate the resolution you guys are considering, because I think that when the time comes, if there is a spill or something, from the time that that spill occurs to the time it is cleaned up, there's going to be some kind of exposure that may be irreparable. I'd like to not have to witness that. I'd like for my kids not to have to live through that, or anybody in my community. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Next person speaking is Michael Ford. He's against, and it's general public testimony. You're going to present. Why don't you go have a seat and we'll wait. That's not how it came up here. So, Alicia Sanchez, it's against general public testimony. Is that correct? Ms. Sanchez? Okay, I'll let you get up here.
Perspective. So against the
Start with your
petition-
name. Start with your name and address.
Alicia Sanchez, 1503 Northwest 9th in Andrews.
All right.
I am against the prohibition of transportation for the ability to transport. So I guess it's perspective on the form of how you
Okay.
look at it. So I am
Okay.
for at the end of the day.
All right.
So as I stated, I am Alicia Sanchez. I am the Senior Vice President and General Manager at Waste Control Specialist. So I run the site in Andrews, Texas. Let me first thank you for allowing us to come and speak to you. This is a very important matter, and we want the public to be informed. That's one of the biggest things that we feel that we need to do, not only in Midland, but the surrounding communities also. There have been groups that have been going around the state of Texas spreading fear in our communities in order to achieve their agenda of not allowing the storage of spent nuclear fuel. They don't necessarily just care about Texas or Midland. They just don't want nuclear anywhere, and they will be the first to tell you that. They have told many of you that radiation is very dangerous, and we need to be very afraid of it. Naturally, the word radiation scares a lot of people until they are educated about how it is used and managed. The reality is that radiation is involved in our everyday lives, especially in this area. Radioactive sealed sources are used regularly in formation evaluation of both hydraulically fractured and non-fracked wells. I am also sure that each one of you have a friend or a loved one that have benefited from some type of radiation medical treatment, probably yourselves too. I know I've received x-rays in the past, and I'm very thankful that they have that capability. This does not include the radiation that you receive on a plane or just sitting out in the sun enjoying the day. Radiation is a good thing and can be managed and regulated at all times. It truly is one of the most regulated industries in our nation and the world. The facts about radiation are not exciting or sexy, and therefore these individuals spreading fear cannot speak the facts. It doesn't sell their story. My job on a daily basis is to first ensure that my 180 employees that I have working at the site in Andrews, Texas are safe at all times. After that, I must ensure that our environment and communities continue to be protected related to any of the work that we do. As I am sure you will agree, there is nothing more important than my family, so as for you, your family also. So if you are unsure as to whether or not I would make sure that your family is protected and the families of others, know that my 13-year-old daughter is my highest priority. The simple fact is that transportation of spent nuclear fuel has occurred for decades and has been done extremely safely. These transportation casks have been tested against extreme measures, and the results have continued to show that they are safe. And if there were ever any kind of accident, the results have continued to show that there would not be any kind of release. You receive more radiation, as I said, sitting out in the sun, enjoying the day, than you would ever receive as a result of anything that WCS is doing. We appreciate your time, and we would be glad to have all of you or anybody out in the public that would like to come to our facility and understand what we do. Please come and do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanchez.
Thank you.
Next one is Carol Bailey. Hi, Ms. Bailey. How are you?
I do appreciate you having these hearings so we can talk about this.
If you can speak in, can you pull the mic? Just pull it up. There you go. Maybe that'll help.
My name is Carol Bailey. I live at 310 South I Street in Midland.
Okay.
And I just want to say that I am very strongly opposed to the moving of high-level nuclear waste through Midland County. I know that the people at Waste Control Specialists have all the best of intentions, and there's a lot of talk about safety and all of that. But my main concern is human error. We've already seen what happened in Carlsbad that shut it down for 3 years. And I know people have the best of intentions, but accidents happen, and I'm very concerned. I live just 4 blocks from where the railroad comes through, and I know if there were an accident, it would go much further than that, but I'm just opposed to it, and I want to go on record as stating that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Mr. David Henderson says he's for, and it's general public testimony.
Good morning, gentlemen. Morning. David Henderson, 3112 San Pedro Drive in Odessa, but Midland County. I'm part of the director of the financial team at WCS. I've been working out there for 9 years. Make that 67-mile commute every day with no fear of any radioactive effect on me at all or our family. WCS is situated in a great location with good geology. I work around the most professional individuals, geologists, environmentalists that are taking care of some of the nation's problems. I'm kind of repeating what some of the other people said, but we work with the county leaders in Andrews County, and I call them fearless. They're people that were forward-looking, looking for things, because I've been involved with several booms and busts in the oil and gas industry, and I wish I could have lived in Midland County all that time, but during the bust, it gets you when you lose a job and you have to move to other cities and come back here. I've had a couple of kids born in Midland County. I was fortunate enough to marry a Miss Midland High School, so I know this is our community, and we love it here, and we want to protect it. But there are also opportunities, and the fearless leaders in Andrews County, I recommend that y'all sit down and visit with them. Sorry that the judge couldn't be here today, but they've studied this. The community is behind this support. This is, they may say, don't have any fear of doing something in your backyard. I dare say y'all haven't been to our part of the backyard. You're invited to come see us, visit with the leadership of Andrews County before you make a decision on this, and be fully educated. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming. Next one is Michael Trost, says he's against, and it's general public testimony.
Good morning, Judge, member of the Commissioners Court. My name is Michael Trost. I live at 3619 West Louisiana here in Midland. And I am here to speak against it, and I will explain why. Try to keep it short, but I think we need to look, and I would hope that you would take into consideration the broader picture, that once we say yes if you determine to say yes eventually when the vote comes up, not just to consider Midland County or Andrews County, but every county associated and spread out throughout the state of Texas and the rest of the country that would be traveling thousands of miles to bring this waste product to the Andrews site. Mayor Matt White of Eunice, New Mexico, his council has come out against this because they are only 4 miles away from this, and they realize the gravity of this situation, the potential. Now, we all don't want to live in fear. We know that. And let's face it, we live in the oil field out here. We know about oil. We know what happens. Accidents happen. They're going to happen. How severe depends on certain conditions. Right now, I believe, Judge Bradford, you mentioned that why are we wanting to move, and you're looking into that, why would we want to move that waste from where it is to here? And right now, I believe that they can store that waste at any of these nuclear sites if they want to, if they choose to. They don't have to move it. Now, I know there are environmental issues that happen where they've got these sites, but concerning water and that sort of thing. So, but the shortest distance they have determined is the safest. And so when they take the materials, they can store it close to by the reactors rather than move it to a site thousands, in some cases, as much as 2,000 miles away to the Andrews site. So I would hope that we look at the broader picture that concerns everyone. Now, let's just be realistic about what this is also, if I may. It's about business. Now, I'm a businessman, thank you, Judge, and I understand that. Waste Control Specialists wants to transport it because this is millions upon millions of dollars. And it's a for-profit company. It is not a benevolent company. So what are the real reasons? And I would ask you to ask them, what insurance do you have that everything will be done properly? To say that if an accident happens, it will be taken care of through different mechanisms, and one of them is the federal government, I wouldn't lean on that too heavily. I would take that in consideration, because that could be up in the billions of dollars. What insurance can we get that these things will be taken care of? Not just words, but insurance. Thank you, Judge, and thank you for your time, Commissioners.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Next one is Clint Williamson, says for general public testimony.
Thank you, sir. Clinton Williamson, 1410 Country Club Drive. I do not currently represent a company in the nuclear industry, but by background, I have spent some time at the Trade Association in Washington, D.C. I was also the lead nuclear energy staffer for the U.S. Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources, and spent about 10 years with actually the company that's next door to WCS that makes fuel at the front end of the fuel cycle. So when I saw this announcement, I wanted to come today and share a couple of brief thoughts. One is the overall program in the storage of nuclear waste. This is something that has been going on in the United States for some time. This material has been moved for over 4 decades, very safely. It is regulated by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and the U.S. Department of Energy. Judge, you mentioned why the possibility of needing to move it twice. Well, actually, the U.S. Department of Energy is under obligation to move the material to a central storage facility, namely Yucca Mountain. As you mentioned, the Trump administration is again opening that initiative back up with about $120 million worth of funding in the president's current budget request. But before that, it's going to take a very long time to actually get that facility up and running. And in the meantime, the DOE should have been moving material since 1998, and hundreds of millions of dollars of judgments are being given in favor of the utilities around the U.S., and that money comes directly out of our pockets, out of the taxpayers' pockets. What could theoretically be done by our friends at WCS and potentially others is to move it to a centralized storage facility where realistically it could last for several decades until the Yucca Mountain project is brought online. But at that time, you would be saving hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer funds. And at the same time, you would guarantee that it is centralized, it is safe, and it can stay there for a while. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is Deborah Ann, is it B-O-R-G-E-N Morgan? Is that correct? And it's against, and it's general public testimony.
My name is Deborah Ann Borgen, and I live at 400 Spring Meadow Court here in Midland, Texas. And I'm here to speak against nuclear facility and also bringing it through Midland County or any county here in Texas. I taught environmental science for a number of years, and I have a science background. And if you look at just the EPA Superfund sites and the history behind them, you see that we, as a country, a lot of industry has made a lot of promises that they can successfully deal with toxic chemicals, radiation, or whatever, but the history behind it has not been all that good. What I'm concerned about is we think we know a lot about storage now, but you're talking about long-term storage. And the irony of it, we're talking about long-term temporary storage. So when this gets dragged up to Andrews, you need to understand that that's temporary. And a lot of this needs to be recontainerized. And my concern is also, how long would this company be around? Because the history behind, if you look at some of these EPA Superfund sites, is a lot of times these companies go defunct. So even though you have this waste management company that is giving you the company line, that they know what they're doing, they're going to stand behind this, where are they going to be 20 years from now? Is the company still going to be around? Are they going to go bankrupt? Whose responsibilities it's going to become? You also have to understand that this is not the same as low intensity waste. We're talking about high level nuclear waste. And I don't think that the concern is not based on scare tactics, because you're going to be moving high amounts of high level for a number of many years. And even though they think they have the details worked out. The other thing is if you do have an accident or a spill, this is not something you can easily clean up. It's not like toxic waste. If you do have a spill or an accident, you're talking about an area that basically has to be separated off from the general public for many, many, many years to come. And that's all I have to say.
Ms. Borgen, can you tell me of a Superfund site that has to do with nuclear waste?
Well, right off the top of my head, I don't know of any one in particular, but that I don't know at this point. But all the other, we've had, if you look at the history of toxic waste in general, and radioactivity is a form of toxic waste. The history in this country has not been good, and a lot of these companies end up going bankrupt. And then what happens over a period of time, then it becomes the county's responsibility, the state and the federal government. And you've had a lot of companies that say, we know what we're doing, we have it all put together and whatnot, and then you find out that some unforeseen thing does happen, and then a lot of times there aren't backup plans. And you look at what happened in Fukushima and Chernobyl, and you'd say, well, that's a different issue because that has to do with, that's not talking about storage. But how do we really know that how this long-term storage, I mean, all this needs to be recontainerized. As that container gets contaminated, it's going to have to be recontainerized, and then you're going to have this much quantity of nuclear waste, and then it becomes bigger and it becomes bigger. And so, yeah, you can look maybe 20 years from now, but how about our kids and our grandkids as it sits there and it degrades? There's always a lot of unforeseen things. So there's a lot of risk in moving this. And my feeling is move it one time. Leave it where it is until we have true long-term solution to storage. Why drag it out here to our community and have it sitting there rotting and degrading, being dragged through our communities? Why take that risk?
We appreciate your testimony, Ms. Bergen.
Yeah.
We've had your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next one is it Merlin Nakachi? Boy, you're better at it than I am. N-A-N-G-A-C-H-I-N. It says FAR, and it's general public testimony, and I'm sorry I didn't get your name right.
That's okay. Good morning. My name is Midland, and I'm a senior health physicist with Waste Control Specialist, and I'm also a certified health physicist with the American Board of Health Physics. Okay. And I live in Midland at 4805 Briarwood Avenue.
Thank you.
And I've been living in this community for almost 6 years. And I live here with my family, my lovely wife and my 3 kids. So if this area wasn't safe enough for me and my family, I wouldn't be here. So before I joined Waste Control Specialist, I had a chance to work at the DOE facility. I also work overseas in France and Italy. And I can tell you something for sure, is that the safety culture at WCS is very robust. It's, I would say, unique. And someone said it's a first class. Of course, yes, transportation of fuel, of spent fuel, will result in certain type of exposure. But how that exposure is compared to what natural background radiation is. So I just got to give you some number to put that in perspective. If you transporting spent fuel on a cask, and someone is sitting at 2 meters from the cask, and according to regulations, the dose rate at 2 meters it can't exceed 10 milligrams per hour. So if that person is sitting there every time the cask is passing by, that just seems to be conservative that the truck will spend 15 seconds. That means very conservative, while passing by. That person will be exposed, and during the entire year, of course, we assume that we'll receive, cash throughout the years. So we receive 365 cash, during that year. So that person sitting there will receive in total during that year 15 milligrams. I just want you to remember that number, 15. But according to NCRP, which is the National Council on Radiation Protection and Measurements, the U.S. population exposure to natural background is 360 milligrams per year, 360. And that's the radiation we are exposed to right now in this room. And that's something we cannot run from. We got to live with. So you do the math. You really do the math. So please, let's just, keep the fear away. Let's just make this place a better place where, people can find very good job and have a better life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is Jay Britton for general public testimony.
I'm Jay Britton, 4975 Southeast 2000, Andrews, Texas. And I am the Vice President of Operations at Waste Control Specialist. Although I do feel like I live in Midland, I'm here more than I am at home. I got a boy that's on the select travel baseball team here in Midland, so I do feel like that I'm here more than I am at home. But in addition to my duties as the Vice President of Operations at WCS, I'm also in charge of the Emergency Response Organization as the Incident Commander, and I want to focus on that role while I'm writing this testimony. I have the privilege of working hand in hand with the emergency responders from around the Permian Basin. That includes Midland County, Ector County, and counties all throughout the Permian Basin. As a matter of fact, we have another contingent from Midland and Ector County that are coming in May to visit the facility. With that in mind, obviously it's not just directed at spent fuel, but general operations at the facility as well. What's important to note here, and I want everybody to take into consideration, is that in the it's not a credible event for a transportation incident involving spent fuel to have a release to the environment. It's the robustness of the transportation rail cask. I've seen them firsthand, and to gain a full appreciation of that, you truly got to lay your eyes on one of these transportation casks and the testing that they go through. And you'll hear more about that in the presentation later. But in being, we do want to be prepared, and that means that we want to make sure that we involve first responders. We are in a public-private partnership with the state of Texas, and we have every resource that we would ever need from the state of Texas in the unlikely, not credible event that there was an environmental release in a transportation incident. That is been very well documented, and you'll hear more about it as well. So based on that, when you are considering the resolution, please take that into account. And I know I appreciate the fact that you are giving us the ability to come speak and try to educate where you hear both sides of the issue. And then I also encourage you to contact Mayor White and Eunice. We interact with them on a regular basis, and I do want to correct the statement, but I would like for you to, if you get the opportunity to speak with him, to get his stance on this. He is in favor of this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next is written testimony by Ms. Joyce Worley, and she is retired and indicated she is providing this written testimony only, and in essence, she is against it. She's in a community of 500 families. That's about a half mile from the railroad track, and I don't want the nuclear waste coming through my county. She is on the record. Okay. Next one is Linda Jordan. Now, there you go. Go ahead.
Well, my name is Linda Jordan, and I live at 2304 Metz here in Midland. I am a retired nurse, critical care nurse from Midland Memorial Hospital, and retired from Midland College as a nursing instructor. Gentlemen, I am against having nuclear waste coming through Midland. The hospital itself is 1.5 miles from the railroad tracks. And in teaching baby nurses, one of the things we do as a nurse is to teach them how to think and how to prepare for taking care of their patients. And we have potential for pain and what you're going to do to implement keeping a patient free of pain. And so as that thinking process came to my mind, way of thinking, I decided I'd write down some of the potential for problems. And I was absolutely astounded at the number of potential for problems with this waste coming here. And some of them were, somebody would say a fear-mongering type of potential fors, but still, it is a potential, okay? And I was really amazed that Midland Memorial is 1.5 miles away from the railroad tracks, and if there was a railroad accident, unforeseen, okay, just like a couple years ago we had an unforeseen accident, people lost their lives right not too far from here. This could be really a problem for the hospital staff, having the right equipment ready, the education needed, also for the emergency people other emergency staff that would be needed, the police, the fire department, and so forth. Now that's only one aspect. Then I got to think, what about potential for contamination at the site in Andrews getting into the Ogallala aquifer? That was a potential for us not having access to water. I mean, my goodness, that's pretty scary right there. Could we become a potential for a ghost town? Not having access to the basic needs. What about unintentional potential for terrorist attack? We are the International Center for Oil. We are, a terrorist would love to take out our nation and cripple it without having adequate oil reserves, but we're going to compound it by having a high-level nuclear waste, and let's contaminate this whole area and have nobody working and have the whole area around here a contaminated site and cripple the nation with not having oil. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Reverend Ricardo Lopez against, and his general testimony.
Honorable Judge Bradford and County Commissioners, it is a pleasure to be here. I am also, like Mr. Lopez, a lifetime member of the Midland City. I live at 1500 South Main, only about a mile away from I-20. For anybody who knows me, I am a history nerd. I love history, and part of that is, for a long time, I have supported the Midway Museum in San Diego, California. It is a decommissioned aircraft carrier. Now, that's important because as more older Nimitz class and nuclear-powered vessels are coming and becoming decommissioned, the odds are that we may not ever be able to tour any of them because of the nuclear problem. What do we do with the decommission or with the spent energy? What do we do with the ship itself? Can it be contaminated? Can it be, what are the risks, possible risks to the tourist? So these are problems that are starting to come up, and people are starting to chat about these things who know these things. I bring that up because obviously there's concern there. And this is just people passing by. This isn't people who are going to live there. This isn't people who are going to spend their time there, maybe people who work there. But the same issue is relevant to us because we will also be having transported fuel through here. And it is something to be cognizant of because what if something does happen? I mean, the reality is that, and I have responded to calls to the hospital for accidents, for victims of accidents on our very crazy roads. And I think we all know that these roads can be crazy. So yes, these casks are perhaps safe and these casks have been tested, but we know these roads. And as far as I have been able to hear, these roads are the most dangerous part of what some of our people who have spoken today have to deal with on a daily basis. That being said, we also are knowledgeable in the fact that we will not be seeing sunshine and microwaves being transported. This is something more serious. This is a radiation that is a little bit heavier duty. So I think it is important, of utmost importance for us as a community, to be aware of this, to be cognizant of it, and to be able to respond in a manner that will keep us and our community safe. It's just being transported, but again, it's not sunshine and microwaves. It's something far more profound and more deadly. The potential is there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there are a couple of others who have asked to speak. Mr. Rosen, and some faces I recognize. You have spoken before, so today is for those who haven't spoken, and I think you understand fair time and equal time. So if you speak again, then anybody that is from the other side will be allowed to speak also. So that's how we've addressed it in prior courts, and I would suggest that's how we're addressed it today. There is an exception in presentations because Ms. Haddon was here previously and had offered a presentation and the equipment didn't work. Those in favor, Mr. Ford is here with a presentation and we assume it works. But as I visited with Ms. Haddon, she is certainly invited to show hers first. She was here first, and then we'll receive Mr. Ford's. That way, everybody has had their opportunity to say, and we haven't had repetitious points and counterpoints, because that's not what we're about. We're about getting information to formulate the proper wording for what's going forward.
Judge, I'd like to speak after we have the opportunity to be informed by the WCS presentation.
That'll be a court decision, but that's a reasonable request. Excuse me, somebody stood up and...
Yes, I signed in to speak.
Would you give me your name, please?
Shelley Wright.
Ms. Wright, I may have accidentally stuck it on the back of one, so hang on. How about it? Right there. So, our mistake, but Ms. Wright, Shelley Wright, is against general public testimony. I don't show that you've spoken before. Is that
No, I
right?
haven't. I've not
Okay.
spoken before.
You have your 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it short. I'm Shelley Wright. I live at 1907 West Tennessee. I'm in Precinct 3. I am a third-generation Midlander, and I still consider myself a newcomer to this area. That's my philosophy on life. I do have now a granddaughter living in this area. I am against the transport of high-level nuclear waste here. We were told in the beginning, when this project was proposed many years ago, that there would only be low-level nuclear waste. And now we're being asked to consider, on a temporary basis, to have high-level nuclear waste. I think it's important to insist on transparency. I know you all are very intelligent men who will consider all of the consequences, but please keep in mind some of us have lived here for many generations. Our roots run deep. I love this land, and I want you to help us take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Okay, that's all the testimony we have witness forms for. So we'll start with the presentations. Ms. Haddon, if you'll come forward. Have you tested yours out?
As far as these slides?
Yes, ma'am. You had a presentation you were going to present to the court previously.
She's got it up.
And we couldn't get it to work. Okay, it's working today, so we are on
Thank you.
item 6. And after Ms. Haddon has her presentation, which will be, Karen, about how long is your presentation?
Probably 10 minutes.
Okay. And then after that, Mr. Ford, you'll be up next. Okay? Go ahead.
Good morning.
Introduce yourself, name and address.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Karen Haddon. I'm the Director of SEED Coalition. That stands for Sustainable Energy and Economic Development Coalition. I appreciate this opportunity and also your thoughtful approach. Our organization is working statewide on various issues. We support clean air and clean energy. We are very concerned about the risks posed by high-level radioactive waste transport through our state. One of the reasons for that is that studies done previously have said there could be 10,000 shipments. That was done for Yucca Mountain. That would probably be accurate now because not only is WCS looking at this site and looking at 40,000 tons of high-level radioactive waste, but just this week, the folks in New Mexico, Holtec and Eddy and Lee counties have announced their project. They want to take 100,000 tons at that site. So surely we would be looking at least 10,000 shipments, and the NRC has told us previously, the DOE previously has studies that said they expect at least one train accident if it's mainly by train. So to lead off here, there's a quote that came from our environmental agency, our state agency, and they say, spent nuclear fuel is more vulnerable to sabotage or accidents during transportation compared to storage, since fewer security personnel and fewer engineered barriers are available. Consequences due to sabotage or accidents are also higher during transport, since the waste may be near population centers. So for a state agency to make this statement is fairly strong. We've heard people say, that those of us who are concerned are fear-mongering. Actually, no, we're looking at the facts, and the facts say there are some serious risks that we should be considering. This is a map of likely routes because, unfortunately, There have not been routes that are designated. This is based on what was designated for Yucca Mountain, so it's our best guess. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen that most of the U.S. nuclear reactors are to the east of us, and so most of that waste would travel through the Dallas-Fort Worth region, largely by rail, and come out to this area. These maps come from WCS's license application. One shows where the tracks come up in the blue area, up through Eunice, New Mexico, over to the WCS site. Monahans is, I believe, where the trains turn up. And then they show a map on the right of railroad tracks throughout the country. Basically, this is all the railroads, best I can tell. And so they have not really given much information about where this waste would go, so we are left to try to figure it out best we can from previous studies. The photo up above is from a train accident that occurred in the Panhandle last year, June 2016. This was a massive collision, two trains, 65 miles per hour. I think one of them was 62 miles per hour, but head-on collision. This is forces that are added together. This burned for a long, long time. It took 2 weeks to clear the tracks. And so I question whether any testing has been done in a long-lasting fire. I know that there are claims that testing has gone on for 3 hours. I have also heard alternate claims that said that after the testing proceeded, the canisters melted down after the testing period. So down below that, you see a train in Corsicana. This was in 2015. This was just a rainstorm, but it led to flooding. That train went off the tracks. It had 64 cars. So these are the kind of concerns that we have. There have been derailments near Kent, Texas, and accidents up near Eunice, New Mexico in terms of trains. There's some data on here that was done for Yucca Mountain. With the train trips, again, they expected at least one train accident out of 10,000 trips. Even a small radiation release from a serious accident could contaminate 42 square miles of land. Again, that was studies done for the DOE in regard to Yucca Mountain. Their estimates in terms of DOE studies were that it could go up to $620 million in a rural area, and a downtown area of a downtown city could easily go to $9.5 billion for a square mile in terms of cleanup and remediation. The NRC weighed in. They did a report in September 2014. I'm sorry, I've got my dates wrong. I apologize. This came out in January 2014 from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. They led off in their opening statements by saying most of the testing has been modeling and small-scale testing, not full-size scale testing, and that they have gotten a lot of criticism for that. They are trying to develop full-scale testing. There was some done at Sandia a long time ago, and many of the Sandia lab studies have been discounted since then. The NRC found that routine and accident transportation conditions, they called them acceptable, but I think it's fair to ask acceptable for whom? If you're living along the transport route, you might feel differently than someone else. Out in California, state leaders who want the waste out of their neighborhoods say they don't want it near highways, they consider that unsafe, and they don't want it in an earthquake area. Well, Andrews County has been the epicenter of a 4.1 earthquake that was in 1992. So, I don't understand why our highways and our earthquakes don't count as well. They said in the NRC that risks of radiation from spent fuel during routine transport would be lessened but not eliminated by transportation cask shielding, and that the radiation coming off, this is a routine shipment, this is not an accident, would be less than background radiation, which they count as 3.6 millisieverts per year. I would say, while it may be small, that it is additional radiation exposure, and scientists tell us there's not a safe level of exposure to radiation. It's why we have lead shielding when we do our x-rays and our medical procedures. This study also says, and this is a direct quote, all loaded spent fuel casks emit some external radiation. And you heard earlier about, okay, the trains go by 15 seconds. Well, maybe that's the case, but maybe there's an accident and you get stuck next to one for an hour. Do you even know it's got radioactive materials on board? And what about you get stuck for 10 hours or there's an accident involved? They have looked at some studies where they looked at 10 hours of worker exposure because these scenarios could happen. So there is additional radiation exposure from even routine shipments short of an accident. Accidental impacts, from page 7 of this same report, they say the consequence of an accident scenario could be a dose of ionizing radiation, either from external radiation from a stationary cask or from radioactive material released in an accident. There's a separate study that was done for the state of Nevada. They have strongly opposed the Yucca Mountain site in that state, and they've taken legal action to halt it. One of the companies they consulted was Radioactive Waste Management Associates. They had much higher numbers than the NRC. They anticipated that there could be 1,370 latent cancer fatalities that could result from a rail accident with spent fuel. So they're not saying immediate deaths, and the NRC says there would be no acute fatalities. They define that as in within 2 months, but they don't say that there would not be some after 2 months in terms of the NRC. This same study found that the costs would be higher. They say it could be up to 145 to 270 billion to clean up a severe rail accident. When radioactive materials are released, they can end up in our food, our air, and our water, and in our living creatures in our bodies. Ionizing radiation can damage tissue and the DNA in our genes and lead to genetic defects in children. A large acute exposure can cause radiation sickness. Cancers may result. If you're up close to spent fuel rods that are not shielded, you will die, possibly, within hours or days. Most scientists now take the view that there is no safe dose of radiation. So while it does occur naturally in our lives, it's not like you want exposure, you try to shield from it. The maximum dose from an accident, they say, could be 2 sieverts or 200 rem, and again, the NRC says it would not result in acute lethality, which they define as within 2 months. They do not state that there would not be a death within 3 months. The hypothetical exposed individual in their report is a healthy adult male, and we should bear in mind that children are more vulnerable to radiation than adults. Girls happen to be more so than boys. I would like for you guys to know about the deadline dates. If you choose to do any comments to the NRC, the impact statement, environmental impact statement is comment deadline. Anyone can comment up until April 28th. To intervene, to have a place at the table during the licensing process, contentions extend until May 31st. And counties can take place in that process, or anyone actually who chooses to be a party. The listings for this were on the Federal Register on January 30th, 2017, but the deadlines were extended since then. I'd like to make 2 or 3 brief comments that did not make it into the slides. One is that often we're being told that the low-level waste at the site, is not especially dangerous. And I think a lot of communities were believing the fact that it was portrayed as medical waste that would be going there. Well, there is some. But the reality is that that site is taking 94% or greater nuclear reactor waste. And so there was an editorial here that ran that said, so why didn't anybody object? Well, most people were believing that we were talking about medical gloves and booties. The 94% figure comes from the Texas Low-Level Radioactive Waste Disposal Compact Commission, and they're the ones that approve the shipments that go out there. There have been accidents. You're going to hear that there have been none. You've been handed a sheet that goes into great detail about some of those accidents. There have been some radiation releases. To my knowledge, no deaths have resulted. I hope that they never do. There has also been an accident that occurred in Lincoln, Nebraska several years ago. It was a large truck shipment of radioactive waste. The front canister of waste slid into the front of the truck in downtown Lincoln at a time when there was a football game going on. I called up to try to find out details about that. No one could ever tell me that any Geiger counter was ever brought out to find out. No one had any knowledge of that with the enforcement and emergency services. So I think it's easy to say that there's no radiation releases when you don't know for sure if the testing has occurred. And many communities, especially with volunteer fire departments, do not have Geiger counters. I understand that's the case here from conversations I had last week. So those are some of the figures that we wanted to bring to your attention, and we're happy to answer questions and also to provide further information as we go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad the machine worked this time. So.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
All right. Michael Ford. And we have his on there, is that correct?
While they're bringing that up, my name is Michael Ford. I'm the Vice President for Licensing and Corporate Compliance for Waste Control Specialists. I live at 7005 Amarillo, Texas, in the Panhandle. I would just, if the young man from 4-H was still here, I'd like to shake his hand because the outpouring of goodwill from this part of the state was very much appreciated by the folks who sent it. So
thanks for the kind remarks. Let me make sure we got it right. You said your address is 7005.
Correct.
What street?
Alpine Lane.
In Amarillo.
In Amarillo.
So you took Alpine to Amarillo. Okay, I got it. Okay. And your presentation's approximately how long?
It'll be about 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
And I would like to thank you, the Commissioners Court and Judge Bradford. It's right that you're having this conversation based on the concerns of the residents of Midland County, to hear the various concerns that are brought before you. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to provide some additional information. We're more than welcome to continue this conversation. I just would like to clarify for the record, my sheet that I signed up for was against. I thought that there was a draft resolution pending.
We got it.
Yes, sir. So that's been clarified. We do have questions and answers here today. A little bit of my background. I'm a certified health physicist, 35 years in the nuclear industry. I was the chairman of the Texas Radiation Advisory Board. Served on that board for 12 years. I was the first chairman of the Texas Low-Level Waste Compact Commission. I was appointed by Governors Bush and Perry. I came to Waste Control about 8 months ago now, and the opportunity to lead this project. It's been near and dear to my heart, solving this problem for the country for 35 years since I was a nuclear engineering 101 student at Texas A&M, and our professor told us that this was going to be our problem to solve, and it's finally in a position that we may be able to solve.
Michael, what was that professor's name?
It was Lee Petticord.
Did you ever know Dr. Waynardi?
I did not. I apologize.
What year was that, did you say?
That was in 1982.
Oh, well, you're just a baby. So.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I'll explain more about that later.
Okay. So we have been able to gather a few questions that we think were pertinent to the Commissioners Court. Number one, why is WCS proposing to establish a consolidated interim storage facility at the WCS site? What are the benefits to Midland County? What is the history of spent nuclear fuel transportation? What are the preparations for spent nuclear fuel transportation to the WCS Consolidated Interim Storage Facility? And then finally, something we've heard here today on a couple of occasions, why move it twice? And certainly, if there are any other questions during the presentation or afterward, we're more than happy to answer those. So the first one, why is WCS proposing to establish a consolidated interim storage facility? You'll see in the background there some loading activity taking place. We have an ongoing nuclear operation, as you've heard previously by some of our folks who testified here today with exemplary safety record. We have a trained and experienced workforce in safe nuclear operations, and we have, if not the best site in the world, one of the best sites in the world to do this work. What are the benefits to Midland County? You see here behind that text is the Texas-New Mexico rail line that comes through the area, just to give a closer depiction of what we've seen previously. So it allows the U.S. government to stop payment of tens of billions of dollars in judgments from the U.S. Treasury, based on the DOE's last assessment that's approaching $20 billion in savings that provides benefits to all U.S. taxpayers and to Texas. Part and parcel of that activity is Section 180C of the Atomic Energy Act, Nuclear Waste Policy Act, which provides for funding for emergency response training for all entities along all of these routes, rail routes. So that's training, equipment, and all the various emergency response drills that would take place as a result of that. What's the history of spent nuclear fuel transportation? About 20 million shipments containing radioactive materials, this is on a worldwide basis, are routinely transported on public roads, railways, and ships. Radioactive materials are shipped in robust and secure containers. Since 1971, 7,000 shipments of spent nuclear fuel. That's over 80,000 tons over many miles and on land and sea. There have been rare accidents over the years, but never one in which a container with highly radioactive material has been breached or has leaked. Now, we point this out because in terms of hazardous material transportation, we're going to make a little bit of a comparison, but we talked about over 300 million hazardous material shipments. This is in the United States. Radioactive waste of that is about 1%, but this is just a small part of an overall larger hazardous material transportation effort. Spent nuclear fuel is a much smaller fraction. So as we said on the previous slide, 1% of 300 million packages of hazardous material are shipped each year containing radioactive material. Of these, about 250,000 contain waste from U.S. nuclear power plants. Within that, 25 to 100 packages contain spent nuclear fuel. This is on a yearly basis, and this is ongoing today. Spent nuclear fuel packages are in robust and what we call a Type B package. It's carried by rail. It's a 125-ton cask that's on when it's empty. And each of those will contain up to about 24 tons of spent nuclear fuel. So the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, it's a statement that came out in October of last year through the World Nuclear Association. Over the last 40 years, thousands of shipments of commercially generated spent nuclear fuel have been made throughout the United States without causing any radiological releases to the environment or harm to the public. National Academy of Sciences in 2006 said this about spent nuclear fuel: there are no fundamental technical barriers to the safe transport of spent nuclear fuel in the United States when conducted in strict adherence to existing regulations. Such transport is a low radiological risk activity with manageable safety, health, and environmental consequences. So what are the preparations for spent nuclear fuel transportation to the Waste Control Specialists, CISF? This is a NAC International rail cask that you see in the background there. So first, we're going to compare this with a very familiar example, which is a DOT 111 tanker car. And the reason we're doing this is because there's about 100,000 of these in service today across North America, and these cars have been involved in numerous accidents, as the record shows. The reason we're bringing this up is because we have a chemical rail safety executive who says that the tank cars can't be expected to be completely impervious to the substantial forces that occur in significant rail accidents, particularly high-speed derailments. And we've seen some examples of that in previous presentations and discussions today. And the reason we bring that up is that the nuclear industry views transportation safety very, very differently. Nuclear regulator review is that all commodities that are transported by truck or rail can be involved in accidents. Trucks and rail cars carrying spent nuclear fuel transportation casks are no exception. The nuclear regulatory recognizes this. It requires that spent fuel casks be designed and built to withstand severe transportation accidents. So this is a completely different view from the other hazardous material perspectives. So in order for a spent fuel cask to pass muster, it has to successfully pass these 4 tests in sequence. So first it goes through a free drop of 30 foot onto an unyielding surface. It's also dropped from 40 inches onto a 6-inch steel pin. Then it undergoes a fire. And there are 2 tests for the fire. One is for 30 minutes, one is for 3 hours. And then finally it has to survive an immersion test without leaking. Fire testing, again, these are extensively studied. Again, it can go through either a 30-minute test or a 3-hour test. The 3-hour test involves having the cask centered in the fire, 3 meters from the fire and 18 meters from the fire. As Karen had brought up previously, this is a scale test. So this is about a half-scale test of rail transportation, and specifically a car that has been is suffering a rather catastrophic impact against a concrete wall. This is a half size. So this is one of 4 tests by Sandia National Labs. And there was a statement that some of the Sandia studies have been discounted. I'm not aware of any, but we're certainly would welcome that conversation. The shipping cask is 74 tons instead of 124 tons. The rail car is 76 tons instead of approximately 150 tons, propelled into concrete wall at 81 miles an hour. And the spent nuclear fuel cask remained pressurized during this test. So in preparations to ship, there's significant concerns regarding what's taking place. You can see just from the size and the scale of the cask here from the people in the foreground. The gentleman, one of the gentlemen in the orange vests, is standing there with an instrument called a teledetector, and that's just a remote radiation detector. What he's doing is taking measurements of the cask itself to ensure that it conforms to the DOT requirements for the radiation measurements. There is a difference between radiation that can cause a dose and radiation that is detectable, and it was rightly mentioned that the radiation is emitted from the casks themselves. You could probably detect the radiation from quite a ways away, but there's a difference again between what's going to cause a dose and what you can detect. You can get some very very sensitive instruments that'll detect radiation from a long way away, but they will not cause dose. This is a view of a personnel barrier installed over the cask itself, being prepared to be shipped. And actually, this was a recent shipment. Just backing up one, this is a recent shipment. This came from West Valley, New York, and was being sent all the way to Idaho Falls, Idaho National Lab for storage. Personnel barrier installed over the cask, so that prevents anyone from getting access to the cask itself and getting too close for any dose concerns at all. So the Nuclear Regulatory Commission issued this report on spent fuel transportation risk assessment. This is recently released it was last year. I apologize, the text is rather small. It said that concluded that collective radiation doses from spent nuclear fuel transport are 10,000 to 100,000 times less than collective background radiation doses. Radioactive material would not be released in an accident as long as they have welded inner canisters, which is the case for every single one of the casks that are going to be transported to our facility. None of the fire accidents investigated in the study result in the release of radioactive materials. Other federal agencies, the DOE National Transportation Stakeholders Forum, or NTSF, is how DOE communicates at the national level with states and tribes about the proposed shipments of spent nuclear fuel. All states, including Texas, along major rail routes, are active participants in the NTSF, and we can get you in touch with the people who are participating in that in the state of Texas as we speak now. The NTSF subcommittee is currently working on funding emergency response preparations under Section 180 of the Nuclear Waste Policy Act. They're developing rail routes through the various states, and that is a correct statement that the rail routes have not been developed as of yet. That's under the responsibility of the DOT and the DOE and for that to take place. The Department of Transportation's Federal Railway Administration is responsible for regulating overall rail safety shipments, and the FRA has authorized the states to inspect hazardous material shipments, rail shipments, including spent nuclear fuel. What the FRA will do is come to a local municipality, certify the rail inspectors' programs, and say you're approved to inspect rail routes if that's the case. So why move spent nuclear fuel twice? And you'll notice this is a spent nuclear fuel train. This is in the UK. This is going through a town. They have actually do reprocessing there in the United Kingdom. And this is a very routine happenstance here for the UK. So the reason for two moves. First of all, the Blue Ribbon Commission on America's Nuclear Future recommended moving spent nuclear fuel to an interim consolidated storage facility. Again, as we mentioned previously, this will stop the multi-billion-dollar judgments the taxpayers are paying currently for the DOE to take title to the spent nuclear fuel, and it'll allow us to work on a permanent repository and proceed on a parallel path for that. Right now, there's, if you've been following in the media, the Yucca Mountain, the folks there at the state level are still very much opposed to it. The federal government is very much interested in it, and so there could be a fairly lengthy process for that. We do support a permanent repository. That needs to be said unequivocally. This is not a permanent. The reason we call it consolidated interim storage is because it is in fact interim storage, and so we support anything that will lead to a permanent repository. Our facility at the site will be located just north of the compact and federal cells. You see there the compact cell on the upper part of the upper right portion of the picture. I believe that's number 6. 5 is the federal waste facility. We have our byproduct facility that's just below that. We are seeking a license for phase 1 of 8 phases. The first one is for 5,000 metric tons of heavy metal. The total license capacity, once fully built out, would be 40,000, but we're looking for 5,000 just for this first phase, and that will come from our shutdown plants across the country. This is what the view of the deployed systems looks like for phase 1. The NAC systems are the vertical conical shaped or cylindrical shaped containers, and then the Areva systems are the ones that are horizontal, and that's what phase 1 will look like fully deployed. So in summary, the Consolidated Interim Storage is a program that can be safely accomplished at WCS. The CISF will provide a means to save taxpayers billions and provide benefits to Texas. With DOE as the transporter and with the DOT and Texas as the transportation regulators, safe transportation is assured. First responders will be properly trained and equipped. I have included a few things. If you ever have any questions, every single document that we've ever submitted to the NRC during this licensing process is at this website as well. Sometimes the NRC's Adams website and their record system is a little difficult for folks to navigate, but anyone can see here on a chronological basis every single file that we've ever submitted to the NRC under this. So we're very, very, very much interested in maintaining this as a transparent process. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now. We also have some additional information here in terms of some of the testing videos. I don't know that we could bring any of those up right now. I'm not asking to either, but those are, my favorite one is a rocket-propelled locomotive colliding the spent fuel truck. That's a pretty impressive test they do. There's also been a question on the aircraft crash simulation for the new home systems. They did actually simulate that and have answered that question. And then also the fighter jet impacting in terms of terrorist attacks or fighter jet attacks, and some additional things here. But let me back up and ask if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank each of you for your presentations. Thanks everybody for participating. And
one question, may I ask?
Yes, sir. That was my next question. There may be a question from the court. So,
Mr. Ford, I understand you're just making the application, correct?
That is correct. Yes, we're applying for a license.
Okay.
The license, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Yeah, if I could expand on it, license requires that we have an agreement with the Department of Energy to take title to and possession of the spent nuclear fuel. That's the requirement within the federal statute now.
When would that take place? When would the first shipments?
We're hoping for 2021. So it's probably a 3-year process for the licensing, and we're hoping that 2021, if everything prevails properly and we're ultimately successful, it'll be 2021.
okay, before we proceed, I need to share a couple of comments with my colleagues since the last court meeting, and continued to ask questions of DC, and they do confirm that you're just starting the process, that it's several years away. They also confirm what Ms. Haddon had said. There is no set routing. There are umpteen meaning unknown routes that are being discussed. There are at least, hope I've got this right, 7 of these type facilities being considered around the country. This isn't the only one.
I know of one more, but there could be some other ones. Yeah, in addition to the New Mexico, there's one in South Carolina, and there's another private group in, so there could be 4 to 7 possibly.
And the two more restricted comments, we asked why move twice, and they said it's going to be moved twice. Not why, but it's going to be moved twice because Yucca Mountain is not ready. So the temporary period of storage could be 5 years to 10 years, and they wouldn't offer where in between.
Yes, sir.
And then lastly, which are first responders, and certainly Midland County has a great deal of interest, is what about training and shipments and all? And then was informed that each shipment, I'm going to call that a train for our discussion, each shipment has a response team and a separate train that travels with it.
Yes, sir.
That was news that we didn't know about.
If you're familiar with the couriers that escort nuclear weapons across the country, there's typically there's 1 to 2 response vehicles for each of those.
Okay.
And that's a standard approach. And I believe Department of Homeland Security is also going to be part and parcel of that activity as well.
Okay. Well, we have heard from both sides of the story, but there is a citizen standing up back. Ms. Hyde, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes. Judge Bradford, Commissioner Donnelly asked a question about Superfund sites, and I do have some examples of those. I would simply like to answer his question.
There is. She has an answer to your Superfund. Please. Thank you. And once she presents this will conclude, actually, this will conclude all our hearings on this.
Commissioner Donnelly, you asked about some...
Ms. Hyde, please state your name and address.
My name is Bridget Houston Hyde.
And you're
I live
here
at 2201 Humble Avenue, 79705.
You're at the mic at the request of Commissioner Donnelly's question.
Yes.
All right.
Commissioner Donnelly, there have been some EPA Superfund sites that started out as a private storage facilities for nuclear waste, and I have a few examples. Maxey Flats in Fleming County, Kentucky, Oak Ridge Reservation in Tennessee. There's another Superfund site in Concord, Massachusetts. There's an EPA Superfund site at Weldon Spring Ordnance Works. And there's also the Richland, Washington Superfund EPA site. There's not a perfect track record in safely storing this high-level nuclear waste.
Thanks for answering the question. Okay. As we started this conversation, the court's own record is coming with a resolution, and we had those 5 questions of of great interest to the court. Some of them, at least one, I've received an answer to. My colleagues may have their own, they may not, but we will start crafting that. And the one I was speaking of was the part about training and the response times. As I said, I've learned that there's a separate response team that travels with each shipment, according to DC. I'm not saying that. I'm repeating what I was told. Okay? So that's where we are, unless you got another question.
Just want to make just a statement real quick. I do want to thank WCS for coming out here and making this presentation. You know, according to some of the information that we've received, once again, I do want to thank you guys for giving us another view of what has been presented. You know, to this day, every single phone call that I've received, the last meeting that we were here, of course, I named a litany of people that have been calling my office regarding their concerns about the transport of this nuclear waste through our county. Of course, we understand that the stuff that's it's going to end up in Andrews County, right? I mean, it's not even in Midland County, but we're aware of the fact that some of the rail transport is going to be coming through our county. Just to kind of go back and state again what the community has been calling and saying that overwhelmingly, they said that they're opposed to this nuclear waste traveling. I know that WCS says, there's a couple of statements from some people stating that, let me see, let me go back over here. Something about that they're fear-mongering, and, you know, I really can't say that because it's not people coming from the outside, the people that I've spoken to, it's people that live in this community. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. I'd hate to call our community members fear-mongers. I mean, they live here. You've got to understand that they're concerned. I understand. I appreciate you guys coming and bringing information. Unfortunately, some of this information, I guess it's not getting out into the community because people don't know. I mean, how do you expect people to know if the information's not out there? If you want people to come to you, I guarantee you it's not going to happen. You need to go to the people. So I just want to make that statement. Another thing, somebody had made a statement that we need to inform our country that there are people here that are scaring people coming from everywhere. I haven't seen that. So to the lady who said that, I've got to make sure that I correct you because that is incorrect. I want to make sure that everything we talk about is just facts. Again, you know, seeing everything that I'm seeing here, of course, I'm going to communicate back to anybody that calls me, but I want to make sure that we don't start doing name calling and saying that, you know, people are scaring some people, because that's not what's happening. All we want to do is just get information, period. The area that I represent is Precinct 3. The railroad comes through my precinct, and I live very close to the railroad track, so you would imagine how important it is for me to make sure that we've got the right information. You know, just like anything in the world, there's no such thing as 100%, right? I mean, we all agree to that. There's always human error. There's always, could be a natural disaster. I mean, there's many things that can happen. I mean, and I know somebody mentioned last time, you know, nobody knew that September 11th would happen, right? I mean, in our wildest dreams, we never thought that would occur. And I want to bring that up because this is what, I'm just trying to give you a framework of where constituents are coming from and where their ideology is coming from. They just kind of see what's going on. But again, if the information is not out there, you know, people are going to be making their own decisions on whatever is out there. And again, I just want to encourage you guys to get that information to people. You know, according to the Energy Department, they have mentioned that there's several leaks that have happened at several plants. And then they talk about the consequences, and some of that stuff is very unfortunate. And I understand there was a lot of people here that are for the nuclear waste to travel, and unfortunately, it's everybody from WCS. There was only probably one person from the community. There's a lot of people that continue to speak out against it, and again, to me, I think it's because there's not information out there. You know, my biggest fear is that the what if, that if it does happen, and again, it's not being fear-mongering or whatever the case, because it's happened before, things that you thought would never, ever happen. And then that 0.001% or whatever you want to call it, it occurs. And then as a community, we're stuck with having to pay for that. I talk about that through experience. I've got a Superfund site in my precinct right now that I'm struggling with tremendously. And I've got people who are having to move out. I have people who have no drinking water. And, I'm not saying that this would happen with WCS. I just want you guys to understand why people are afraid, the things that have occurred here in our own county. And to this day, it still hasn't been fixed. The EPA's here, still can't fix it. Nobody knows who did it. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Companies that were here saying, man, we're behind it 100%. We're going to be here if anything happens. And guess what? They're not here anymore. So, just through experience, some of the stuff that has been talked about, and I just wanted to make this comment just because I want to make sure that everybody understands why we are discussing this in Midland County and why it's so important for us to really look at it. Yeah, definitely. I see how safe it is, and I agree that it's very safe. But then again, what if? We always have to be open to that what if. I don't want my family to have to get up and move from Midland if that what if happens and it's very disastrous. And maybe that what if happens and it's something very small. I have no idea. Nobody in this room can guarantee that. And so I just wanted to go ahead and make that comment.
To each of you and each presenter, we thank you for the courtesy which you gave your presentations and the conciseness that you delivered the information. If you have additional websites, I know each of you had a website or two in your presentations. If you would provide that to Jenny, we'll distribute it to the court and they'll look at it at their leisure. But yes.
Before we leave this, I'd like to make a comment too.
You bet.
Is that right for now?
Absolutely.
So a little bit of brief history. I've been in Midland since 1952. My guess is I've been here longer than anybody except maybe Sue Brandon, maybe somebody else in here has been longer. I guess I'm arguing that I love Midland about as much as anybody. I could have moved away when I graduated from Texas Tech and A&M in '74. Could have gone anywhere I'd wanted to, and some of you could as well. But we choose to live here because we love this place. So I bet that's true with everyone in this room. I bet that's not an unusual statement. As I mentioned in the last court session, I dated, in my high school years, I dated a girl from Andrews, and I burned the roads up between Midland and Andrews, probably as much as you guys do coming back to Midland and so forth. I love playing tennis, and I love number sense and slide rule. I competed against Andrews. They were the best in the state. They were number one all the time. Had a great math department. In 1970, I graduated from Lee and went to Texas A&M as a chemical engineering student. And while I was there was a professor named Dr. Richard Wainardi, W-A-I-N-E-R-D-I, and he was in charge of some nuclear research at the time. And he chose me. I don't know why. I guess I had good grades or something. But he chose me to be his research assistant. And the program was called Nuclear Activation Analysis. And what it was you have a highly radiated or a nuclear source that irradiated fluids, and of all things, you put little kids, newborn babies, and you could even do this in the womb. You could get newborn babies' fingernails or toenails and irradiate that, put it through the machine, and the research was going to prove, or one way or another, that you could test for cystic fibrosis and maybe some other early diseases that you could catch early and maybe even change them. So I was real excited as a new kid to do that. They said, whatever you do, Randy, because I'm working by myself. There's nobody else. It's just me. And the professor's over somewhere else. He's not being irradiated. And so whatever you do, wear these gloves and do this protective stuff. And whatever you do, don't ever let any of this liquid touch your hands. So I was real careful 99% of the time. I remember the first time when something happened and I had an accident and the material went on my hand. And I went back to my room that night thinking, I'm going to die. And I don't know if I should call my parents first or my girlfriend or whatever. And I just sat there in my room thinking, I hope they were lying. I hope they were exaggerating the danger of this substance because I have it all over my hands. And I didn't die. And so, obviously, I say that for this reason. Some of you in this room have said there's always an accident. That's true. No one would have thought two planes could fly into two buildings in New York City, and as they were burning extremely hot for an extremely long period of time, you could not have imagined it would have melted steel girders and dropped the two towers. I couldn't have imagined that, and I was angry after that happened. the people I'm angry at are still around looking at all these testing things that we're doing, and they're figuring out how to overcome them. My understanding is there's a report by the Army, the U.S. Army, that talks about the current technology from terrorism, and I won't get too specific either because I don't want to give anybody any ideas anywhere that reads this or listens to this, that you could penetrate this impenetrable substance. Now, I know that every one of my friends, my new friends from Andrews and that works for WCS, believes with all their heart and is as honest as they can be in their desire to maintain safety for their own families, for themselves. I know that there's not a single disingenuous person in this room. At least that's my belief. My thought is terrorists, the kind of things that a person could do in relatively low-level terrorists, not talking about a really, you had guys with box cutters that took down 2 Twin Towers, box cutters. And I don't know, so my question is to the folks from WCS or anybody else that wants to answer is, I don't know if it's possible. Perhaps it is to test for all the things that current state of terrorism exists. I know that all of you are 100% sincere until the time comes when somebody does that and makes either Midland or Odessa or Andrews a ghost town. I know you think that's not possible if you're working. I don't think any of you are stupid. I think you're very, very bright and very dedicated to your families. You love your families just as much as I love mine. And I wasn't satisfied with the answer about why move it twice. Maybe I missed something in there, why it can't stay where it's at. I know there's lawsuits going on and there's payments being made and so forth and so on. But that being aside, I don't know why you can't keep it where it is until a final permanent solution comes about. I will say I am very pro-business, pro-oil and gas. I've fracked wells since 1974. I've disposed of water. I deplore what environmental groups have done with the Endangered Species Act. I think it's deplorable. I think they just don't like people have private property, and they have used bad tactics to make it where a lizard or a bird is supposedly endangered, then you're going to shut down all business. I deplore that. I hate it. And so I'm not on that side in the least. And so it is I am thinking that there will come a day when somebody figures out how to penetrate the casks, and I don't think it'll take a genius to do it. I just think it'll take an evil man who has been told something wrong and lives a lie. And yes, sir, if you would like to respond, I'd be glad. So my question is, or my comment is, I don't know how you can test for that, but I would love to hear a response.
Well, there's and the reason I mentioned the Department of Homeland Security because the counterintelligence assets that are part and parcel of the DHS and also they're combined with law enforcement, national laboratories. This is obviously anything that's out in the public is already on their radar, and really can't. I used to have a clearance. I worked at Pantex for 16 years, and I know a lot about the emergency response community and the counterintelligence community, and but I can just tell you that that's on there are things that we haven't even conceived of that are still on their radar, and they're
Right.
looking to defeat those things. I certainly appreciate your concerns.
Well, did you know Henry Ivy when you were there?
I did not, sir.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of employees. So.
I'm still wet back here.
Well, anyway, I appreciate that, and like I say, I hope everybody that's from WCS and from Andrews heard me clearly, because I love that community. I think y'all took one of our greatest assistant city managers. Glenn Hackler is up there. Richard Dogener, your county judge, is an excellent man, as are your commissioners. And I don't want anything to happen to Andrews. I know you don't want anything to happen to Andrews. I believe with the stuff sitting on the surface, I just have this feeling that when the day comes when you guys are wrong, it'll be so wrong and so bad that there'll be no recovery. And so you can tell where I stand. I haven't heard anything to give me comfort. I do believe with all my heart that if a man can make something safe, you've done as much as you can do. I have no doubt that there's been incredible amount of safety built into this stuff. and that the odds of an accident happening are rare, and even if they do, I don't believe it will create a bad problem. I'm just concerned about the evil people that hate our country and hate us and hate our God, hate my God, will do everything they can to breach this, and I'm not sure it will take rocket science to do it, so I wish they would keep it where it is at. So solution, I know that we depend on nuclear energy in America. It has done great good for the country. I wish they would keep it where it's at until the time comes when they move it one time, and that's to the best place we can put it, which probably is still not 100% guaranteed. Nothing is. And that's my only wish, is that we would just not move it until then. But I do appreciate what Mr. Simmons did when he started your company, and many others who have done that, because we do have a problem in America, and we need to deal with it. And I believe you guys have done as good as anybody could possibly do. So anyway, that's my statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you have other comments or want to have other exchanges, I would ask you to move it to the end of our agenda. We have other items that are time sensitive for today and a couple of other hearings to go to. So with that, that door is open to you. Smitty, it's open to anybody, but please do it at the end of the agenda. So with that, we go to item 8, discuss take action on donating T-shirts for summer reading program from HEB. John?
Can we let the room clear, Josh?
No, I want you to say it so we can get going to the next item.
Yes, sir. We have a long-standing relationship with HEB. They've been a long-time advocate of literacy in this state, and locally they have been very friendly to the Midland County Public Libraries. We just bring before you, they have donated 1,728 T-shirts for summer reading this year.
Okay, so you're asking us to accept that donation?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 9, discuss take action on out-of-state travel for library director to attend National Churchill Museum, Fulton, Missouri. John?
We have the opportunity to potentially bring a portion of the Winston Churchill collection to Midland, which would be a coup. It's never been done in Texas, and certainly hasn't been done in a public library in this country that we're aware of. To the credit of a lot of work of some people, including Judge Bradford, making some contacts for us, they have invited Judge Bradford and I to go up and tour their facility and potentially select some materials for an exhibit of Churchill artifacts and art in 2018.
And this invitation is a limited invitation, and...
Yeah, the National Churchill Museum's on the campus of Westminster College in Fulton, and so when they get into May, they hit some academic, they bump into some things that where the academics of the end of term affect them. So if we don't get up there, it may be the fall before, and we're trying to secure the 2018 calendar so we can start raising some funds.
So John has to come and ask for out-of-state travel?
We'll be traveling with the judge.
I would make the motion that we allow John to go up to Westminster College to view the
Churchill artifacts.
Churchill artifacts.
Yeah.
I was going to say Winston, but yeah.
His personal artifacts that somehow or another are housed there. So.
Westminster College is where he gave his famous Iron Curtain speech when he was touring the country. Somehow they've ended up being kind of the Winston Churchill depository in this country.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 10, discuss take action on library donations. John?
All material, no monetary, and you should have backup.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
y'all.
Number 11, discuss take action on purchase of tasers. I put this on here, Judge Cobos called me. This is for the collection department, and they've done an outstanding job. Their numbers are sky high, and the JPs were going to buy it through their court security account, except it doesn't have any money. So I think it's a very worthwhile request, and ask the court to consider it on the basis of buying it out of contingency. Anything you want to say about it? You've been sitting back there quietly. Okay, how much money? Sheriff?
we do have certified instructors that'll be able to put them through a course.
Good. Super. Yeah. In fact, David mentioned that, too.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sheriff. I do have the total.
Yes, sir.
The total is $6,023.33.
$6,023.33.
Yes, I do have the quote.
Has there been recent need for these?
No, sir. My department, I've got 2 full-time investigators, a part-time investigator that also is a bailiff for the Justice of the Peace Court for Precinct 2. We're finding that during he does a lot of the evictions, he does a lot of the small claims courts. We're getting more and more agitated people inside of our evictions courts. My investigators, or the investigators, they're actually out serving warrants. It just gives us another tool rather than going, it gives us, we've got the verbal.
Y'all never had them?
No, sir, we do not have them.
You've never have had them?
Never have had them. So right now we've got firearms, pepper spray, hands-on, and that's.
He can have it.
This is going to be another tool for us to use.
No, I think Scott's request is right on.
I would make the motion that we approve $6,024 from contingency for purchase of tasers for warrants.
Okay.
I would second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thanks, Scott. Thank you. Number 12, discuss take action authorizing county judge to sign a letter of commitment for the Texas Mother Friendly Program. Bailey, help me. My goodness, what is this? Bailey is not here. This came out of HR. It's tabled if the court agrees.
Yes.
13, discuss take action on employee grade and step change for Road and Bridge. Robin? Felipe and Robin, I guess.
Yep, Felipe's going.
Morning.
What I want to do is, right now, I got 4 crew leaders, and one of them is considered a working foreman. I want to make them all across the board the same as crew leaders.
So you want to drop it from a 21 to a 18?
From a 2106 to an 18.
18-1?
Huh?
18-1?
18-1.
Okay.
What is that? All the crew leaders are paid the same, and they're all in the same category because they all do the same work.
All right, motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Effective when?
Today.
Effective today. Is that all right, Louise?
Mitzi?
Yes.
Does that work for you, Mitzi? Sure. Okay, let's do it effective today.
Motion and second, agree, effective today. All right, 14, discuss take action on victim coordinator and liaison grant and corresponding documents supporting grant.
Yes, this is our annual grant for the victim coordinator and liaison position that we have. That it's our protective order position. This grant covers the salary for one of our ladies who participates in the protective order. So we just need the court to approve for the judge to sign it. There's lots of signatures this time because we had to also submit all of our cooperative working agreements with the grant this year. So they're all attached to the grant.
Do you have the original grant?
I have the original grant.
You get it to me, assuming the court makes a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 15, discuss take action on Midland County Sheriff's Office monthly fee. Sheriff?
Judge Court, you have a copy of the fees of the money that we have taken in and where it went. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Russell? Yeah, the sheriff asked me about 16 executive. You okay with that? Okay, 16 will be an executive. 17, acknowledge the certificate of compliance for jail inspection.
I want to notify the court that the jail inspection was satisfactory. We had a couple of deals that came up, but we did comply, and the inspector was satisfied, and we did receive our certificate of compliance for the jail again. We are certified.
Sheriff, along with that, today you and I were meeting, you had an electrician or somebody over there working on the light, and it shorted on them. Is everything okay with that individual?
Well, he had to go in and have surgery. He had somehow or another, there was a 220-volt line that was underneath the counter in the master control.
Yes.
And it had been covered. The cover came off. He was in there looking for electrical connections and relays that would show why the lights in the E&F section were not working whenever the...
But it's nothing we did. My understanding is he just reached up and touched it.
He reached up and touched the wrong thing. It went through his body, across his heart, blew out on the other side.
Okay.
And they had to go in and do surgery to correct some tendons.
Well, we wish him the best.
Amen. He's doing great.
Good. All right. Okay, is there a motion to acknowledge the compliance issue?
Motion to acknowledge.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 18, discuss take action on fiscal year 2018-2019 OVAG BCLG grant application corresponding documents. Sheriff?
This is a grant we apply for every year for the crisis intervention unit. And you have copies of it, and the judge has got several places to sign if you'll authorize that under number 19.
Okay. Pretty much the same as it's always been.
Same thing as it's always been. It's $42,000, and you can go through there, and the judge will have places to sign for all of the entities that we have connectivity with. We're required to get an MOU with them and ask the judge to sign that.
Okay.
Sheriff, are these cooperative work agreements? Is that what that is?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And it gives us the opportunity to work. It's an agreement that they're requiring for the grant application.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
In case you haven't heard, we're going paperless on our grants in the state, but now you got to furnish all the cooperating agreements.
Which is more paper.
Yep.
But that's where we're at.
So anyway, 18, is there a motion or discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 19, discuss take action authorizing county judge to sign the fiscal year 2017 VCLG grant contract number 1772490.
That is the grant that was just passed out to you.
Yeah.
It's the $42,000 for CID.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Second. Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 20, discuss take action authorizing county judge to sign clear renewal for Sheriff's Office and CNW.
For civil and warrants, and it is a tool that we use to look for people, to locate them, find out where they're working, find out what they're doing, and it gives us the opportunity to access that information.
Okay. Is Christy here? There you are. Okay, excuse me.
She can tell you more about it than I can.
It's the same price for the same services. This is just a renewal.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. 21, discuss take action authorizing county judge to sign Xerox lease agreement for district clerk. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I need to give y'all a copy. We just got this in this morning.
So am I right? We got 3 copying companies again?
Yes.
And who is this with now?
This is
Xerox.
Getting them back again?
Apparently so.
What is it, for 4 years? Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they have chosen a 48-month lease on a copier for the jury room. The one that they have in the jury room right now is just way too much. I mean, he doesn't need all those features. So this is going to be $156.63 per month.
What was it before? Since it's a downgrade, right?
I'll have to ask my copier man.
Your copier man?
Lex the copier.
Yeah. It was $243.46 a month, so that's a decrease in the rental amount to about $90.
90, okay.
Yes, and then we looked at a black and white unit, just because that's pretty much what they need. Just getting a black and white unit was going to be $100 more than this $153 amount, so.
Oh, wow, okay.
Really, they are getting a really good deal on that.
What's the previous year's overage on the color copies?
They had no color copier on that machine.
But they do now.
Yes, and I'll tell you why, because with the black and white and a full color system is less expensive than just a black and white.
It will be until you start using a whole bunch of color copies. And let me tell you, what they'll do to you, if there's one letter on that, on that deal, that will be a color copy.
Yes, sir, we are aware of that, and we are going to deactivate that color capability. Pretty much just, it's going to have a security code, and the only way to do that.
There's another way you can do this, is tell them that you will pay for the color cartridges yourself, and they don't charge you for it. At least they do on the I've got a similar contract like this.
This contract with DIR, sir, this particular contract, they do not have these.
But you said you can go in there and deactivate the feature within the unit?
Yes.
Okay.
And so in doing that, I mean, maybe they may need to make a copy, but the commissioner is correct. If you go in there and you make one copy, there's one copy that has a color in it, it will record that whole copying project.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Every click will be under a color copy charge.
Wow, wasn't aware of that.
But they're going to realize a tremendous amount of savings on this.
Awesome, good job.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 22, discuss take action on purchase flooring for agricultural extension building.
This is not a budgeted item, the facilities does have the money for it, and we have a quote from $24,990.
Okay.
I'd make the motion that we purchase the flooring for agriculture extension building.
Okay. And where are you going to pay? You're going to pay it out of their general maintenance right now. Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 23, discuss take action on purchase of protective cabinet for Shell Street radio voter site.
Yes, sir. This wasn't budgeted for exactly. Lieutenant B. John McDaniel had done the budget last year. He then retired, and Andrew has taken over for radios. So Andrew's going to use money that we're going to purchase a protective cabinet for the voter system for Shell Street. Keep it cooler and cleaner for longevity.
I don't think it's working again. You'll have to move the other microphone
I thought I
over.
was going deaf.
No, you're doing good, man.
Thank you.
The auditor looks at me, I better move. Sorry.
Everybody else in the courtroom was hearing that, and I wasn't, so getting a little worried.
Do I need to repeat this one?
Please.
Okay. This wasn't budgeted for because Lieutenant B. John McDaniel had done the budget, but he has since retired, and Andrew Shepard has taken over for radios. He has selected to use the monies that were given to purchase a protective cabinet for the voter system at Shell Street to keep it cooler and cleaner for longevity. We have a quote from Petro Communications from the amount of $6,270.
I don't understand. The budget had monies to purchase a protective cabinet?
No, B. John had done the budget. I'm not sure what projects he had in mind whenever he budgeted
But there's excess
items.
money there that can be used for the
Yes,
protective. Okay.
correct.
I'm sorry, what exactly is this voter site? I'm not understanding that part.
Andrew.
Thanks.
Shell Street Water.
Do you want to know what a voter site is?
No, sir.
That's where you go vote.
Well, I mean, that's what came to mind. Pretty sure that's not what that is, right?
You said it.
It's satellite receivers for radio systems set up throughout the county to improve radio coverage. We recently upgraded that, and we've got new equipment that's inside of a ancient rack. That building is very hot. It's not air conditioned and it's dirty. And this protective cabinet will, like Christie said, increase longevity of it, protect it, and keep it cool.
Is there additional electricity for it?
No additional is going to be required. We've already got electricity at the cabinet, but it's going to be off of 110 volts.
Is there some kind of cooling mechanism within this box? Is that like a fan? Or
It's got an air conditioner built into it. Yes, sir.
Excuse me.
Okay.
So that air conditioner won't cost any more money?
Correct.
And we have electricity?
This is at the Shell Street Water Tower, and just an interlocal agreement we have with the city. They allow us to use their building for that equipment, and so we will not be out any more money for electricity.
Perfect.
All right. I'd make the motion that we purchase the protective cabinet for the Shell Street radio voter site.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 24, discuss take action on purchase 2 Cache mobile radios for radio tower trailer.
Yes, sir. Again, these were not specifically budgeted for, but we do have a quote from Petro Communications for 2 cash mobile radios in the amount of $7,005 each.
Yeah, we had the radios in the budget. They were just undesignated.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we're doing.
Perfect.
So we're good with budgeted?
Yeah.
I'd make the motion that we purchase the additional radio, mobile radios.
It's 2 of them, right?
2 mobile radios.
There's 2 of them, and now you're about to see a second item, which reads the same, but it's a different type of radio.
Portable radios.
I have a question in general. Are these replacing existing equipment or adding to, or what's?
They're replacing an older generation of radios that's no longer in production. These are an upgrade. They do what they call Phase 2 P25, which is eventually will give us the opportunity to be on the City of Midland system with these radios. And
these are Motorola?
Yes, sir.
You're telling me Motorola is eventually going to mate up with a Harris system that the city has?
Oh, they'll do it now. P25 is a standard.
Okay, it's good to know. Okay, so on the first set, we approved them. Those are stationaries, right?
Yes.
Yeah, within the.
Yeah.
They're the 2 mobile radios.
So 25, discuss take action on 2 Cache portable radios.
Yeah, I don't believe you made a motion for that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to get at. I show that we had a motion, but I don't think we ever voted.
No, I didn't hear a vote.
Okay, so let's vote on 24. Robin, you had the motion?
Yes.
Second.
Scott's got the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now let's go to 25. Same location, but portables.
Yes, sir. These are for the 2 cash portable radios. We have a quote from Petro for $8,493.60 each.
And the difference, Andrew?
These 2 will be left in the trailer, and on any type of event, like for Crude Fest, one will be given to the communications unit leader, one will be given to the incident commander, and they'd have a full broad spectrum of interoperability with any agency that's involved.
Okay.
And you have the funds for this? Budget?
Yes.
Okay. I'd make the motion that we purchase 2 cash portable radios for the radio tower trailer.
Okay. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 26, discuss take action donating phlebotomy chair to Permian Basin community centers. This
Yes,
is
sir.
something that's sitting in the warehouse.
It is sitting out in the barn, and the Permian Basin Community Centers has asked that we donate it to them, and they have sent a letter
Okay.
requesting.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is it our expectation that if we tried to sell it, we wouldn't
get anything for it?
I don't believe we would get anything for it.
Yeah.
Actually, it has to be something we could not sell, or if we
It's,
sold it, it would be less than our expense.
yeah, it's pretty worn down. I think they're going to have
Torn
to do some
down, and
work.
it's Russell, it's a medical apparatus that perhaps wouldn't, it can't be used for anything but what it's been used for. Okay? So, all right, they've asked for it. Do we want to give it to them?
Make a motion to approve that.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Who's got a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I think that's all of yours, right?
No, one more.
Or you want one more?
RFP.
All right.
Thank you.
27, discuss take action on award for RFP 17 MCO 520 Banking Depository Services. Yes, ma'am.
We received 3 responses to the RFP, and we would like to award to Prosperity, as we feel they would be the best value for Midland County.
Okay. Was it due to cost mainly?
No, Mitzi had several factors in her spreadsheets, but actually mainly it is the cost, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I approve the selection. However, I will make the notification that I am on their advisory board locally, so I won't make the motion, but I approve of it.
Okay, if you'll note that Commissioner Prude has voiced his opinion, but I think you're abstaining, aren't you?
I'm just abstaining from making the motion.
I'll make that motion that we go with Prosperity Bank.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And 28 is discuss take action on purchase microwave system. And Justin has part of this in his budget, but when we were hearing prices, I asked Justin to go back and get a price to do them both at the same time so we could cut the cost down.
Yes. We currently have a fiber network that connects all the county buildings together. AT&T currently provides that network. What I'm looking to do, and been wanting to do for a while, is provide a backup link to certain buildings. One of them primarily being the annex and the LEB. Just in case something was to happen, we'd have our own connection that we maintain wirelessly, encrypted. It'll be about half the speed, but it will get us by in case if something happened. The current 2 quotes I have are from annex to the courthouse, and then to service the LEB, we'd have to go from the county tower back in. That way we'd have a redundant connection to the LEB in case something happened. Both of those quotes came in at about $25,000. I reached out for additional discounts, and they said they had pretty much discounted it as much as they could.
So it's 25 for each or 25 for total?
For each one. We have in the budget currently $30,000 to do one of them, and we could stick with doing one.
Okay, so the court's...
I at least want to get one of them approved if possible.
So if the court agrees to do both, then we need to go out of contingency for some. Otherwise, it would be just one within your budget.
Correct, and we could budget the next one next year.
So we'd have to take 15, 16,000 out of contingency.
We'd have to take 20,000.
You have 30...
We have 30,000 on the dot.
Well, I'm a big proponent of this because if we have our fiber optic cable cut, there's no other way to get the information back and forth. We still have our TLETS connection at the annex.
It's here.
It's here now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
With this, I feel like I'm covering most of our core service for the courts, all the JPs, all the courts, our treasurers and auditors. So we can...
I think it's pretty important that we have a secondary system set up as a contingency. I just, the trash trucks have taken down our lines at the annex so much. I'm really concerned about that. I'd like to make the motion that we purchase both of them and take 35.
It'll be, it's $25,000 apiece, so it's $50,000 total, and we have 30, so we'd need 20 out of contingency.
I'd like to take 20 out of contingency and do it.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. I'm going to get out of order again because District Judge Lindemuth has sat here patiently this morning because he came for a very quick item, which turned out to be not so quick. This is what he's going to talk about is a ceremony that we talked about in the county for a long time, and he just never had anybody leading it. And Judge Lindemuth has stepped forward and kind of put it together. This is not a budgeted item, but it's very worthwhile. It would have to be paid out of contingency if we go forward. Judge.
And Judge Leonard and I have been working on this for about 4 or 6 weeks now. And what it involves is, we're calling it a judicial heritage ceremony, namely to honor the 10 judges who have preceded our current judges. Our first one would be Perry Pickett. Then Judge Pickett served before we actually had a district. He served as in the special district court, and 142nd was created in 1956. So there's a lot of history to be gathered. We've timed the ceremony to be on May 31, which is a Wednesday. And that's coincidental, but by plan, the day after John Hyde's, what would have been his 75th birthday. I can answer any questions. We'll actually have a series of presenters. We'll actually have the photographs of the judges, and we'll have a family member, and then we'll unveil those pictures. And I think it'll be a great moment for Midland County and for our history.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say there's two pieces to it. One are the bills that we've incurred getting these pictures framed and what have you. That will be covered in bills. But what Judge Leonard and Judge Lindemuth have suggested is that there be a reception afterwards, after the various ceremonies, but also perhaps a luncheon prior to. And as I talked to Judge Leonard on Friday, the luncheon can be problematic if it isn't open to the public because we have to declare a public good. But I think Judge Lindemuth can speak well as to what they're trying to do.
The luncheon is actually a working lunch to where we're going to have a rehearsal for not only the family members, but we want everybody to, it's going to be a long ceremony. It's like an hour, and an hour is a long time to try to keep people's attention. So we're going to have the families and the presenters come up, feed them so that they can have some sustenance to go through our rehearsal, and then we'd have a reception for the public, whoever's at the ceremony afterwards.
And the public, you're anticipating a catered lunch by the county.
Correct.
For the participants and existing judges. So hearing that, Madam Auditor.
For the court to make a public determination.
All right. It would be my view, the determination for the public good is the preservation of Midland County history and those who have served this community. We are not giving anything that we wouldn't do for anybody else that has provided both inaugural and long-term years of service. That is my opinion. If somebody else has a different one, please share it. And Randy, you were going to ask questions.
Well, I just think it's a good idea. I don't see any amount here for that. What are we being asked to fund? How much?
Judge Leonard and I believe, not counting the frames that I've done, that the whole thing would run somewhere around $2,000.
Okay. I'll make a motion. I'd like to declare they're a public good for numerous reasons, not the least of which is to preserve Midland history, but also honor to whom honor is due is a good principle. and I believe our judges have helped maintain Midland as a good place to live, and the future judges will be inspired by this example as well, and therefore would like to request that we spend $2,000 or up to $2,000 out of contingency to fund this event.
Okay.
Very good.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
You bet. All right, let's hop back on 29, discuss take action on fleet accidents. Dwayne gives us the all clear. Good report, as always. 30, discuss take action paying out comp time over the 60-hour limit for employees in facilities department. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I gave you a list of folks in facilities right now. This would be anyone in the county that has over 60 hours in their comp time bank. I'd like to pay those back down to 60 hours.
All righty.
Motion to approve?
Have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 31, discuss take action authorizing county treasurer as the investment officer to place county funds in the tax pool prime, which is a new investment category.
Yes, sir. I hope that you read the letter and was able to look through the backup that I sent you. We currently invest in 3 different investment pools in Texas: Tex Pool, Tex Star, and Texas Class. Tex Pool is the only pool that's actually administered by the Comptroller of Public Accounts. Tex Pool for a long time has had I guess you'd call it a subsidiary of Tex Pool that's called Tex Pool Prime. Tex Pool invests its funds in federal bonds and things like that, but not commercial paper. Tex Pool Prime actually invests in commercial paper, so it makes a little higher interest rate. Only one of our other pools does that, Texas Class, and its interest rates always run just a little bit higher than everyone else. If you look through the backup, the first page that I have following my letter there shows you that we do currently have money. We have about $3.5 million in just general fund money in Tex Pool. What I'd like to do is open up a Tex Pool Prime account and be able to transfer some of that money over there and draw a little more interest. All of our pools are completely liquid. We can move money in and out of there every single day without losing anything. And but our long-term investments, we've got out as far as 3 years now. Well, interest rates are rising, and that stuff that I've got out there for 2 and 3 years, I'm not catching any of the rise on it. So I'd like to put some of our short-term money in Tex Pool Prime. I believe it's very, very secure. It's AAA rated, just like Tex Pool is, and I'd like to try it for a little while, see how it does.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
And you're thinking we can get about 50 basis points higher?
Yes, sir.
Did you want to do the full 3.5, or did you, my understanding is you want to do part of the 3.5, or?
I probably will. If approved, I'd like to move $2.5 million to Tex Pool Prime and still leave some money in Tex Pool. I'd hate to set a limit on it, though, because if it turns out that I really like it, I might put the whole amount in there, or even more. Attach some rate sheets showing you the daily performance for Tex Pool, and then after that, the daily performance for Tex Pool Prime. And it's finally went above 1% there, which Tex Pool hasn't been that in years. I think it's going to run just about what Texas Class does. They also have commercial paper.
Okay.
I'd like to make the motion authorizing county treasurer to put this money in the Tex Pool Prime.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 30.
Judge, there's several forms there for you to sign if you've got those originals. If you
I got
don't, I'll
an
give them to you.
afternoon worth of signing.
Okay, you and Allison both. There's some
Okay.
forms for her, too.
32,
Thank you.
discuss take action authorizing county judge to sign a resolution authorizing participation in tax pool investment pools and designating the authorized representative. Mitzi? Got anything you?
That's the forms I was just talking about.
Okay, so that's the forms.
Yes, sir.
We've approved it, now she wants the form signed, so.
Make the motion for the form signing.
Make the motion authorizing county judge to sign the forms.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes. 34, take action acknowledging personnel memorandum.
Do have one item on the payroll change summary that's a little bit out of the ordinary. Under other, juvenile probation did give a discretionary step increase to one of their probation officers out there.
Okay.
And that is under their purview.
Okay.
The overtime that you see there in the district attorney's office is paid for with their pretrial diversion funds.
Okay, any questions?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We're good to go. Motion is passed. Before you start, Veronica, does anybody need a break, or can we keep going? We have a lengthy executive session. All right, we're going to keep going.
Okay.
Okay, item 35, discuss take action on budget line item transfers.
I have some line item transfers to bring to your attention. Page 3 of 31, line item transfer number 4378. It is moving money out of capital outlay greater than $5,000 for the SO admin into equipment maintenance radios. Explanation includes move funds from capital outlay to equipment maintenance radios, and that is the extent of the explanation on that one.
Is that's not for what we approved today, is it?
I don't believe so. No, because I believe that the other is out of capital outlay.
Sheriff, somebody explained to us why we're moving out of capital outlay for radios that we'd already planned on.
That was excess money that's left in capital outlay that there's nothing I can see needing to be purchased from capital outlay, and I was wanting to have that rolled over to use it for maintenance funds.
Okay, but are you in need of maintenance funds?
I'm close. I can't tell you to the penny, but I was given $10,000 this year for equipment maintenance, and I believe I've encumbered about $8,000 of that so far.
Okay, and you're asking for the balance to be...
$1,630.
I'm sorry?
$1,630.
Okay. Any other questions? Any others that you want to point out to us?
Yes.
Okay.
Line item transfer on page 11 of 31, line item transfer number 4486. This is moving money, is SO admin, moving money out of capital outlay greater than $5,000, $8,463 into equipment maintenance radios. GPS 1 Metron crystal filter and AR2 receiver with connectors and rack. Not sure what all that, but that's $8,463 into equipment maintenance radios again.
So we're talking about moving a lot of money into radio.
Well, that was, the other one was moving the money out of capital outlay. Yes.
Yeah, but what you're telling me is
Equipment maintenance radios.
$20,000 in radio maintenance this year. We've never had.
We've given them $10,000, and this is an additional $10,000, yes, sir.
Right, but I don't recall we've ever had $20,000 in radio maintenance.
Judge, in the past, we've had like 40 or 50,000 in radio maintenance. And this year it got cut back to 10,000.
Sheriff, did you have it divided into various departments? That may be what happened, why we can't come up with the number.
I don't know, but we used it in...
She may have a better number, but when we were going through the budget, we couldn't make the number make sense. And it may be because it was charged out department-wise versus one number.
Well, it may be, but...
Radios are usually out of the admin department, though.
But that's not the way it came over in the budget, so.
Take a look really quick.
You can tell me later. I'm okay with what the sheriff's saying.
We're going to wind up needing it. We're always having the radio go down or needing maintenance on the radio.
Veronica, we can talk about it later. I'm okay with what he's saying.
Thank you.
You bet.
Sounds good.
Okay. What else?
Page 17 of 31, it is moving money out of facilities into the Horseshoe, $6,000 out of building maintenance into equipment and furnishings for the Horseshoe, and the explanation is for green rooms at the Horseshoe Pavilion. Page 24 of 31, line item transfer number 4627. This one also is moving money out of facilities building maintenance into the Horseshoe equipment rental, and the description indicates this to cover the forklift rental at the Horseshoe.
Yeah, we had it in the wrong line.
Okay?
Okay.
Those are the exceptions that I have this
Okay.
morning.
Any questions or discussions or motions?
Motion to approve all line item transfers.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 36, discuss take action on bills and wire transfers.
I do have a wire transfer out of the county clerk deposit and general pooled cash account in error having to do with that whole IRS issue, which we hope we have already resolved, $248. And as far as the bills are concerned, I really do not have any exceptions to the bills.
Yay! But
I do have one additional bill also.
I have one additional, and this is what Judge Lindeman was talking about. Here are the receipts. He has personally spent $942.18 to get things framed, which the county will receive.
Okay, I just won't be able to pay any of the taxes on that since we're a tax exempt
between you and the
entity.
judge,
All right,
so
sounds good. And
I'd
I
ask
do-
you to add that to it.
Yes, sir. I
Make
will
the motion.
review these and get them ready for payment. Also, the Aldridge Gardens invoices that I have today are for total of $5,150.
Okay?
And that is all.
Okay, any questions? Any motions?
I make the motion that we pay all bills and wire transfers.
Okay?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. 37, discuss take action on Midland County Horseshoe being designated as a public facility designation, and for the record, it should also say, also known sometimes as a public entertainment facility. Why is this important? This is something we worked on for more than a year, and it goes through the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission. You have a letter in there from Amy Harrison, the Director of Licensing, that says we do meet the qualifications. Qualifications are twofold: how your management contract reads, and then separately how your concession contract reads. Why is this important to us? It's important because we'll become a member of a small group of facilities, excuse me, in the state, and as far as I know, at the time we submitted this, we were the smallest one. That enables us to be included with promoters and distributors of alcoholic beverages when they sponsor concerts or touring events like Coors Rodeo, Budweiser Summer Music. Heretofore, we were not allowed to take those because we don't have this designation. But because we meet all the criteria, and the head of licensing and the chief attorney at TBC has written this letter, the court has to agree and state it in our minutes. And the only thing that changes, and I've already spoken to the auditor about this, when you deal in a public entertainment facility or a public entertainment venue, those are interchangeable names, the payment for the concert in total or the entertainment item in total from a distributor has to be made into the auditor's account. It cannot come through the Horseshoe account and Dooley's management. So it's the opposite accounting-wise as to what we've seen historically. But it puts us in the category of Fort Worth, Dallas, Austin, Houston, and San Antonio. What is the cost to us? Nothing but a vote.
depends on what the auditor says.
Well, the auditor and I have discussed this. There are accounting standards that we meet that are set by TABC, so there's no wiggle room in how we do it, or
You're okay?
Yes, I would rather it be deposited in the treasury.
yeah. That's the only way it can be. And in your motion, if you care to approve it, I would ask that you make the motion as a public facilities designation, also known as a public entertainment facilities designation. So we can cover both ways it's talked about.
What was the second deal, public?
The first is public facilities designation, and then they say also known as public entertainment facility designation. The word designation is just tagged on the end of both of them.
And make the motion that we approve the Midland County Horseshoe to be designated as a public facility or as a public entertainment facility.
Also known as, yeah.
Also known as a public entertainment facility.
Designation.
Designation. I thought we said that in the first part.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 38, discuss take action on oil and gas lease. Commissioner.
We have worked on the oil and gas lease with Midland Petro DC Partners LLC on 3 different tracts of land that Midland County owns. They have... Does my mark? There we go. Oh, goodness. We have worked out the lease form, and it's ready to be signed by the judge.
Okay.
You want to highlight what you prescribed?
What has been changed? That would be numerous.
Give us just the highlights of what the terms are.
Let's get back down here. It's a little bit over $10,000 per net mineral acre. It's a 3-year primary term with a quarter royalty. $10,250 per net mineral acre.
What's the total on all the leases? What's about the total of all the acres?
We've got right at about 5.
Okay.
So
Is it 5 per, because I've got here 27 acres, lots 10, 11, and 12?
no, we've got 2 1.5 acre tracts, and I think we have another 2 acre tract. So it comes out to about, somewhere around 5. The total bonus, I haven't calculated exactly, but it'd be around $60,000. And on one of these tracts, I don't recall exactly which one, they're already drilling the well.
Oh, wow.
So did you make a motion, Scott?
I would like to make a motion that we authorize the judge to sign the oil and gas lease.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 39, I'd ask to hold this. Each of you got a very lengthy packet of what's involved in this roadway, but it cures an emergency management access. It also finishes something that really the court should have seen back in the 80s, but it never got over here. We don't know really what happened to it. And then since we've agendized this, Felipe has gone out to measure the road to get it paved, and we have found a gas distribution meter sitting in the middle of the right-of-way. So we've got a call into those folks, and that would be a vital part of answering the whole question. So with your permission, I'd ask you to read these documents, and we'll put it on the next court, unless somebody objects. Okay? So let's do that. Then item 40, discuss take action on development subdivision rules for Midland County. Russell, you told me something a while ago. So.
Judge, can you put this on the next agenda? I'll have a draft with suggested changes by then.
Okay.
We just do that.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? Yes. All right. And 41, discuss take action on chronic since it's an executive session item. 42, take action on submitted applications pertinent to use county right-of-way for utility line installation, driveway construction, mailbox construction. Precinct 1.
2.
Precinct 2.
I just have 6.
Precinct 3.
1.
Precinct 4.
None, I'll make a motion to approve these.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. So we are done with the general agenda. Russell, the sheriff's item in executive session is under what?
Consultation.
Okay, we have an executive session item, and we don't, sir?
Number 43.
Yeah, okay. Conducted executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071 to consult with county attorney regarding pending prospective litigation and other matters. And at this time, we're going to take about a 10-minute recess before we go in session. It could be fairly lengthy depending on the 3 items we've got. So, ready? Okay, we're back from executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, and we are in open session at 126.
Are you on?
We're in open session at 126. Recall 2 items, please. Recall item 16, discuss take action on additional funds for 100-500-50.5400 detention, drugs, and medical services. The request has come that the $10,000 is needed in that account, supported by good information. So is there a discussion or a motion?
I'd make the motion that we take $10,000 from contingency and put it in this fund for detention, drugs, and medical services.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Then we have a recall bills, Veronica.
Okay.
36, discuss take action on bills and wire transfers. We have a bill here from Brian Martin and Associates, who did the title work on the County Road 127, and they did it promptly, so we probably need to pay them promptly. The bill is for $1,500. Can I include that in the bills? Is there a motion to pay that bill?
Motion to pay bills.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And we're waiting on one last thing, which is going on in there. I found the document on the Good Mother program. Yeah, so we tabled it. It remains tabled. And as long as we're waiting on that conversation, on number 39 about east part of West County Road 127, that's 1788 eastward, over behind compressor systems and what have you. And the long and short of it is the county took in the western end of it fine. It was dedicated. It shows 60-foot minimum up to 80 feet right away. The east end, we never took in. We never done anything in that road, but it was platted in 80 with the city, and the city approved the plat under ETJ rules, which makes it a public road. The county never acted. What's in your document file is all the title work and the filings and the procedures that occurred. So what we would have to do is we would have to approve now the roadway that was accepted by the city back in 80. and take that in, and then we would have to discuss, which I'm already trying to get a hold of Jim Nelson and those people that had interest in compressor systems to move the gas distribution meter. Isn't that what it is, Robin? And then we can get it paved. But I'm happy to leave it alone till next court, or you can make motions that concur with the public dedication as of record. It's all in here. Whatever y'all want to do.
Is that in Scott's precinct or mine?
It's in Scott's, and it's, Luis and I have been talking about this quite a bit. What's happened is the emergency equipment cannot get through to the other road. The traffic is so bad at 1788 and the interstate that TxDOT's asked us to help relieve it. And then DPS says they've got a real safety issue with all these trucks maneuvering among cars. So this would act as if you would come out of the truck stop, you'd turn right again, so you'd go around behind and get on the service road. That would take you out of the intersection.
Does that north-south one not go up towards Old Highway 80?
The north-south one does go up, and can you get to Highway 80? Yes, you can.
Okay.
UPS trucks run on that all the time.
So what do we need to do, Mike?
Well, I think in essence of time, if you're willing to take this as I've described it, and Brian Martin has done a great job of giving you plats and recording information, that we would concur with the action of the city in 1980, and we would take the east portion of West County Road 127 from 1788 to 1296?
76.
1276 into the county system. We realistically already have half of it, Randy. And we've been saying we didn't own it. Well, it turns out we did, but it's not entered in the county
Will
records.
there be any other liabilities to the county other than trying to get them to move their meter?
Well, there's substantial work on that. It's a very expensive road to fix. It needs to be fixed. I think Scott would confirm that. And I refer to it as East West County Road only because it's the east side of 1788. The west side's in good shape. The east side's not.
I mean, we need to Scott, are you in agreement? We need to get.
Yes.
So does the city maintain that road right now?
City doesn't do anything.
Yeah, nobody does. It's one of those falls into the no man's land.
And that's what, as we went over there, and they said, well, that's your road. And he said, no, it's not our road. But the assumption was by their, and I'm reading between the lines, the assumption was back in that period of time when the city acknowledged an ETJ approval road, it was automatic to the county. We don't do it automatic. We talk about each one. So there was never any action by the court.
But one way or another, some entity needs to fix that road and make it more workable, and if it's us, to step up and do that, even though.
We can fix half of it. We can't fix all of it until we formally put it into our minutes.
So I think we ought to take care of it. If Scott, if you agree.
Yes.
Somebody got a motion?
I'll make the motion of taking in the east part of West County Road 127 from 1788 eastward to South County Road 1276.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, guys. We are waiting on a discussion, and we can do this. I can come back after the other hearings. Randy, can you?
We got a meeting at 2, so I don't know.
Are you free? 4?
Hopefully around 3:30 or 4.
You make 4 o'clock? Okay. Court stands in recess till 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock on Monday, April 10th, the court is back in session from a recess. We have one item left, and that is item number, Item number 41, discuss take action on Iconics. We have negotiated what appears to be a settlement agreement. It requires a vote on our side before we can send it on to the Iconics folks. Is there any discussion or is there a motion?
Yeah, what is it? I mean, we didn't.
Just one point, Judge, the Arconics has already approved it to form.
good.
So if we approve it here, then we are good to go. And Commissioner Sanchez, we have the required affidavits for the settlement agreement, so.
And all affidavits are provided and signed and properly notarized? Okay, so the agreement's done.
Well, I should not say all. In 18 months, Mike Atkins or whoever, if he is not the head of information service, whoever would be at that time, needs to provide one more affidavit, but that is it.
I understand. But the affidavits that were under consideration today have been taken care of?
Yes, sir.
Thank everybody for their cooperation.
I'd make the motion that we approve the settlement agreement.
Okay?
Second.
A motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That completes the business of the court today, and that brings us to item 47. There's no executive session items. So is there a motion?
Judge,
yeah, there's a...
Wait. I just said it wrong. There sure is. Go ahead.
We had told members of the public that they were allowed to come back, so I think there's some members of the public here, so I don't know if we need to go ahead and
Okay,
get that back to
let me, Mr. Rosen.
Yes, sir.
I assume you're the member of the public.
I am, sir.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I see...
As are Ms. Hyde.
No, understand. But here's the clarification. As I mentioned this morning, you are invited back, anybody who wanted to come back. Is there new information you're going to provide? Because it must be different than your previous testimony, otherwise we got to call the other folks back.
Yes, it is different from my previous testimony.
You got 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm David Rosen of 5002 Thames Court, Midland, Texas. I wanted to talk about the viability of WCS as a company. Energy Solutions, Inc. has agreed to buy WCS for $270 million and $20 million in stock, and to assume $77 million in debt. The Department of Justice has blocked this merger at this time. It's an antitrust suit because Energy Solutions would be the only company then that takes care of nuclear waste in the manner that WCS does. And this proposed agreement to purchase WCS was dated in November of 2015. There's a federal filing that indicates WCS operated at a $26.5 million loss in 2015 and a $17.9 million loss in the first 6 months of 2016. Ergo, I think we found the reason why WCS wants this high-level nuclear waste to come to Andrews County, because it would give them an opportunity to make significantly more money.
Okay.
In addition, I would like to remind the commissioners that we expected to have a resolution at this meeting from the last meeting. Unfortunately, that didn't occur. But the citizens of Midland County have been loud and clear, those of us who are not employed by WCS, who don't make money off of it, and that we anticipate that we hope that the commissioners would hear them loud and clear, those of us who are not employed by WCS, that we don't want this coming here, and we would like that in a resolution.
Okay.
You've heard from people across the political spectrum, and
15 seconds.
Thank you. We hope that the bad business decisions of Andrews County will not convince you to make any bad decisions on behalf of Midland County.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Okay. David, is that all? Is there?
I had to say, but Mr. Schaefersman and Ms. Hyde may also have things to say.
Same question of you, will this be different than testimony you've previously given?
Yes, Judge Bradford, it will be.
Okay, and it's your statements as you see it. This is not point counterpoint, as we said this morning.
I understand.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stephen Schaefersman, 6202 Driftwood Drive in Midland.
Okay.
I spoke 2 weeks ago. I talked about the problems and dangers of the transport and storage of the nuclear waste at WCS. I'm not going to repeat that. What I want to talk about today is the concept of risk and benefits. As you know, there are risky things in life, but we do them anyway for the benefit. Risky things include driving on our highways, flying, and for an example, you may know working on oil rigs is very risky, but we do it because the benefits outweigh the risk. Now, what I'm suggesting is that in this case, the transport of this high-level nuclear waste is so risky that the benefits that Midland County would get do not outweigh the risks. The transport of nuclear waste we've experienced is low level. This is magnitudes much higher than a lot of the waste that has been transported. What benefits does Midland get? Nothing really. The one risk, the one benefit that we heard about today was that Midland gets to help the society, the federal government, pay less money in fines to the reactors that have that waste and want to get rid of it. As you know, this waste is, the federal government has responsibility to deposit this waste safely, and they're not doing it. So now they're paying fines because it's gone on. We have to remember that in the long run, this waste is such highly radioactive, that it will be dangerous far longer than the time that the casks and the protections, the cement and the soil around the waste canisters will exist. Contrary to what we've heard sometimes, WCS is a very bad place to put any nuclear waste. It is surrounded by water. There's water there, there's water underneath. The protections will last for 60, 80, 100 years perhaps, but that's it. They will corrode and the waste will leak. That is a very bad risk, and it's too risky to accept the benefits. Is there a benefit to Midland in any case? Is there any societal benefit Midland can have? The answer is yes. If the waste were being transported through town to a final safe deposit, then that risk the benefits would outweigh the risks.
15 seconds.
The benefits, a safe place to deposit nuclear waste is deep underground, not on the surface, deep underground in dry rock that is non-porous and non-permeable, igneous rock, not this sedimentary rock where it's going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Ms. Hine, did you want to say something?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Same question of you. This comments or whatever you're going to share with us is different than what you were previously on record with. Is that correct?
Yes.
All
There's
right.
maybe a little history involved, but yes.
Well, as long as you're not going to repeat and we're going to learn something new.
I hope so.
Okay. Just
My
tell me
name
your
is
name and
Bridget.
address.
My name is Bridget Houston Hyde. I live at 2201 Humble Avenue in Midland, Texas. First of all, I wanted to say thank you. I called, I think, each one of you. Some of you I was able to talk with personally. Some of you I left messages on your answering machine. But you listened to me. I feel like you have listened to us, and you actually restored my faith in government.
You can say that sentence again.
But here's the deal. We asked you to adopt a resolution after all of our, concerns were voiced. We asked you to adopt a resolution saying that Midland County did not want high-level nuclear waste transported through its boundaries. And then you said you would adopt a resolution, and I felt so encouraged. But then, you know, the resolution did not explicitly state that Midland County does not want high-level nuclear waste coming through. And I felt sort of like I was given a brown bag without the lunch. So I'm here to ask you, with all sincerity, that you please state explicitly in your resolution that you do not want high-level nuclear waste transported through Midland County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hyde. And as one more reminder, we said, and we're on record for a resolution. It is forthcoming. It hasn't been drafted as to the details of the language. It will be within the constraints of which we are able to not only express, but control what we express. And the last item is, it wasn't on this agenda because, as I mentioned early today, it was because we heard in volumes from both citizens and some from the company asking to please present their side. And so in an effort to be balanced and hear it, that's why they were here today. But we're officially done with hearing. And we will craft a resolution which each commissioner will review and have input and construct it, and then it will come to court. That's pretty much how we operate. So with that, anything else? Auditor, please don't tell me we got any more bills.
No more bills.
Okay. And you got the sheriff's money into the medical, right? Okay. Anything else? Don't hear anything. Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.